Chapter 1020. The tombstone lit up and soared into the air, turning into a golden dragon. However, this time, the golden dragon did not hover in the air, but directly swooped down towards Tang Zheng. Puff! The golden dragon flew into Tang Zheng's body and disappeared without a trace. Tang Zheng's entire body trembled. He also discovered this point and was shocked. The dragon's soul entered the body. The dragon's soul quickly turned into energy, turned into a powerful dragon chi, and quickly fused into his 8 extraordinary meridians. However, even more dragon chi rushed into the dragon seal and fused into the body of the 5-clawed golden dragon. In an instant, the 5-clawed golden dragon blossomed with a golden light. Tang Zheng was completely bathed in the golden light, like a dazzling golden man. He immediately realized something and hurriedly activated the dragon god's secret art. A series of mysterious concepts spread out, and the dragon chi in his body rose steadily. The 5-clawed golden dragon gradually changed, and the 6th dragon claw grew out of it. He looked at this scene in disbelief. He was both shocked and amazed. The dragon soul could actually help him improve the dragon god's secret art. When the 6th dragon claw completely grew out, he had completely leveled up to the 6th level of the dragon god's secret art. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at a tombstone beside him. The dragon's soul just now flew out from it. He looked at the other tombstones. Without a doubt, there were also dragon souls in those tombstones. He suddenly had a thought: could he absorb the dragon souls of the other tombstones? He stretched out his hand and was about to activate the dragon god's secret art when suddenly, the world spun and the scene in front of him changed. The forest of tombstones disappeared and he returned to reality. Looking at the group of Xiao Bai and the other two looking at him with burning eyes, he stood up unhurriedly. "What did you do?" The 5-clawed golden dragon asked anxiously. Tang Zheng looked at him indifferently and asked, "What do you think I did?" "How would I know?" "Just now, your entire body erupted with a ball of golden light, and your dragon chi soared. Furthermore, your dragon god mantra has actually broken through to the 6th stage. What exactly did you do? How did you do it?" The 5-clawed golden dragon impatiently asked, mainly because the strange phenomenon just now was too shocking. Little White and Scarlet Moon were also looking at Tang Zheng curiously, unable to take their eyes off him. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, "Do you really want to know that much?" "Of course. I was cultivating the dragon god technique in the Langya Pavilion. Didn't you say that the dragon god technique was about to break through? I coincidentally broke through this threshold, so what's so strange about that?" Tang Zheng asked with a smile. The 5-clawed golden dragon thought for a while and shook his head. "No. It doesn't make sense for your body to suddenly have such a powerful dragon chi." Tang Zheng shivered. This 5-clawed golden dragon's eyes were indeed shrewd. He actually saw through this. "Oh, then what do you think is going on?" Tang Zheng asked with a smile that was not a smile. The 5-clawed golden dragon thought for a long time. He looked at Tang Zheng from head to toe, as if he wanted to see through him. However, in the end, he shook his head helplessly. "I don't know, but you should know very well." "Is that so?" Tang Zheng smiled meaningfully. "What should I know? Where did that dragon chi come from?" "I was in the Langya Pavilion." "Where do you think my dragon chi came from?" Tang Zheng asked back. "How would I know?" Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. He did not know if the 5-clawed golden dragon was telling the truth. There was no doubt that there was another place outside the Langya Pavilion. However, the 5-clawed golden dragon had always warned him not to go anywhere. This made Tang Zheng very suspicious. He wondered if the 5-clawed golden dragon knew about the existence of another Langya Pavilion. "Then let me ask you another question. I'm sure you know very well." Tang Zheng changed his way of thinking and chose a roundabout strategy. "What question?" "How will the dragons be settled after they die?" The 5-clawed golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously and asked, "Why do you want to ask this question? This is not a very secretive question, is it?" Tang Zheng asked back. He stared at him with a burning gaze, trying to distinguish whether his reaction was real or fake. The five-clawed golden dragon said, "Of course the dragons are buried after they die. They are buried in the ground for peace. It's no different from you humans." "Then where are they buried?" "That depends on their own wishes." "Won't they be buried together?" "Why do they have to be buried together?" The five-clawed golden dragon's rhetorical question surprised Tang Zheng. Moreover, it did not seem to be lying. However, why would so many dragons be buried together in the Langya pavilion? This was too abnormal. He really wanted to tell the five-clawed golden dragon about his discovery, but he took a deep breath and held back. He continued to ask, "Then after the dragons die, will there still be a dragon soul?" The five-clawed golden dragon raised his head high and proudly said, "The dragons are very different from you humans. After you humans die, your soul will enter the ghost realm, but we dragons will not. Our dragon's soul will not be destroyed, but after we are buried, the dragon's soul will be buried together in the cemetery to rest in peace." Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened, and his heart gradually understood. So that was how it was. The dragon souls on the tombstones were the souls of the dragons buried there, but the dragon souls were not destroyed, and were also buried there. But why could he absorb those dragon souls? Could it be that everyone could absorb dragon souls? He thought for a while and asked, "I guess there must be a lot of dragon chi in the dragon soul, right?" "Of course." The five-clawed golden dragon nodded. "The dragons can absorb dragon chi to improve their cultivation, right?" The five-clawed golden dragon was about to nod when he suddenly froze. He looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression and asked, "What do you mean? Are you talking about absorbing dragon souls and then improving your cultivation?" Tang Zheng remained calm. The five-clawed golden dragon roared angrily, "Why is your idea as despicable as the Dragon Slayer?" "Dragon Slayer?" Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard of this term. He couldn't help but stare at the five-clawed golden dragon curiously and asked, "What is a dragon slayer?" "A group of despicable and shameless guys." The five-clawed golden dragon wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that Tang Zheng was listening attentively, he didn't dare to not say it. He thought that this wasn't a big secret, so there was no harm in telling him. Thus, the five-clawed golden dragon indignantly said, "Dragon Slayer is a general term for a group in the world. Not only are there people in this group, there are also other races, but the only thing they have in common is that they specialize in hunting dragon souls, absorbing the dragon chi in them and then increasing their cultivation." Tang Zheng seemed to have opened the door to a new world. He curiously asked, "There is actually such a group in the world? Hasn't your dragon race always been very powerful and aloof?" The five-clawed golden dragon seemed a little embarrassed and said, "Even if it is a powerful race, it is difficult to escape the schemes of some sinister and deceitful people. Especially these dragon slayers, not only do they work together to slay dragons, what is even more despicable is that they actually absorb the dragon souls of the buried dragons." Tang Zheng couldn't help but blush. Didn't he also absorb the dragon souls? He was the despicable person that the five-clawed golden dragon said. He coughed twice to cover up the embarrassment in his heart and said, "Then how do you usually deal with these dragon slayers?" "Of course we cut them into 8 pieces." The five-clawed golden dragon said fiercely. Tang Zheng felt a chill run down his spine, but he pretended to be calm and said, "Where are these dragon slayers?" "The dragon slayers are very cunning. In the past, it was because we were unwilling to be disturbed that a portion of our dragon race left our homeland to find a new place to live. I came to this world with the other clansmen, but in the end we found out that this was not our paradise, so we naturally left." The five-clawed golden dragon said regretfully. However, Tang Zheng's heart jumped wildly. He grasped a key point and asked, "You said that the dragon slayers forced you to leave your homeland. Then how strong are they? Even stronger than your dragon race? How is that possible?" Panic flashed through the five-clawed golden dragon's eyes as he denied it. "The dragon race is the strongest. In short, the dragon slayers are very hateful. If I were to meet them, I would definitely tear them into 10,000 pieces." Since the dragon's soul is so dangerous, haven't you thought of a way? For example, if you hit the dragon's soul in a certain place and then protect it, wouldn't you be able to prevent it from being taken away by the dragon slayers? Tang Zheng asked deliberately. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at Tang Zheng in surprise and said, "You are really smart. You actually thought of the same method as us back then." However, the dragon slayers are too cunning. No matter where they hide, they can find them like a cat stealing a fish. In the end, because many dragon souls were gathered together, they took advantage of them and their strength increased greatly. It is precisely because of this incident that the dragon slayers' strength increased greatly and posed a huge threat to our dragon race. The five-clawed golden dragon did not finish his sentence. It was precisely because they adopted this strategy that they were wiped out by the dragon slayers. As a result, a large number of dragon souls were taken away and the dragon slayers' strength reached a peak state. They were actually able to threaten the existence of the dragon race, so the dragon race had no choice but to find another place to live. Of course, these secrets would be too embarrassing for the dragon race, so it was impossible for the five-clawed golden dragon to not say it. But what kind of person was Tang Zheng? He could see the big picture from the small details. Through analysis, he gradually comprehended a trace of clues, and his guess was not far from the truth. Immediately, he became even more curious about the dragon slayers. What kind of group could be so powerful? Then what about the tombstone in the Langya Pavilion? Could it be that it was also a place for the dragon race to settle down? Only the dragon race could enter the Langya Pavilion through the dragon seal. The dragon slayers had no way at all. Why didn't the dragon race place all the dragon souls in the Langya Pavilion? Wouldn't everything be fine in that way? He did not know the reason, so he decided to test the five-clawed golden dragon again. He asked, "Five-clawed golden dragon, do you really not know what is in the space outside the Langya Pavilion?" "Didn't I tell you?" The dragon race has a rule that they are not allowed to set foot in that space. They can only go to the Langya Pavilion. The five-clawed golden dragon said impatiently. Seeing that there were no flaws in his words, Tang Zheng decided to believe him first. It seemed that he really did not know about the steel forest. Since that was the case, then he could not tell him. Otherwise, with his temper, he would definitely lose his temper. If he told him that he had absorbed a dragon soul, he was afraid that he would even have thoughts of killing him. Chapter 10:21. In order to avoid arousing the suspicions of the five-clawed golden dragon, Tang Zheng brought Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu out of the imperial city. The harvest this time was quite bountiful, allowing him to come into contact with a brand new world. The legend of the dragon slayer made his heart surge, so there was actually such a powerful person in this world. The dragon clan was not always aloof and invincible. As long as one was strong enough, there was no need to fear any enemy. The sky revealed a white belly, and the rising sun illuminated the capital, turning it into a golden yellow color. At the end of August, the capital was very hot. Even in the early morning, there was an impulse to soak in ice water. Tang Zheng had long been immune to the cold and heat, sitting in the courtyard leisurely and contentedly watching the rising sun. Xiao Bai rode little Yu Yu back and forth in the courtyard, as if patrolling his own territory. Fang Shishir went to school to prepare for the new students. Lu Qingmei went to work. And went out early in the morning to work on the jewelry. Marshall was not idle either, cultivating in the training room. Speaking of the training room, this was something that the women had fiddled with. They had tidied up a basement and then transformed it into a training room. There were many weapons in it, and there was also a battle room. The women would occasionally have a battle practice on a whim. Tang Zheng had seen it once, and could not help but admit that women were really valiant in battle, especially women against women. They did not have much tenderness for the fairer sex. In their words, the practice should be like actual combat, real swords and real spears, so that they could display their proper level in the face of battle. It was precisely because of this that the passion of the women in training surged, because everyone wanted to win in the practice. If they failed, they would definitely think of a way to get back their face next time. Looking at their tenacity, Tang Zheng praised them a few words, causing the women to be even more motivated. In fact, they were very clear that as Tang Zheng's strength increased, if they did not improve themselves, they would always be protected by Tang Zheng, and they would be a burden. No one wanted to be weak, they were in contact with the strong all day long. This idea was especially strong. After all, leisure time was short. Yan Luyun hurriedly rushed over. Seeing his leisurely appearance, he plopped down on a nearby chair, crossed his legs, and said, "Young Master Tang, your days are too comfortable." Tang Zheng looked at him with a smile and said, "You're the young master of the Yan family. Don't tell me you're having a hard time." "Of course. You don't know how busy I am these days." "Oh, why?" Yan Luyun stared at Tang Zheng with wide eyes and said, "Why?" "It's all because of you. Don't you want to find the whereabouts of the Azure Dragon Hall's High Lord? How could we dare to be negligent? We practically turned the entire capital upside down." "Oh, what did you find?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. "Don't you know who I am? I've been busy for so long. If I didn't find anything, how could I have the nerve to come see you?" "Of course I found something," Yan Luyun said proudly. He and Tang Zheng had already become very familiar with each other. He was not as cautious as the elders in his family. Instead, his relationship with Tang Zheng was getting closer and closer. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. "Don't keep me in suspense. I've worked so hard for so long, how could you not let me show off a little?" "Alright, since you're so impatient, I'll tell you. The High Lord's whereabouts are very mysterious. We couldn't find him, but we found the whereabouts of another person." "Who?" "Grandma Li. It's her." Tang Zheng was shocked. When Grandma Li returned to the Li Palace, she did not obtain any benefits. In the end, she took a few disciples and fled. He did not expect that she would come to the capital. Yes, this Granny Li is an expert. If it were in the past, we really wouldn't have dared to target her. But things are different now. With an expert like you, even the Li Palace's palace master has fallen from his altar. Don't be ridiculous. Where is Grandma Li now? Guess. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. "I'm not a fortune teller. Do you think I can predict it with my fingers?" "Alright, I'll tell you. She went to Ji Wuxiang's Go Club. Fortunately, you reminded us many times to pay attention to this Go Club, so we were able to find this out by waiting for her." Go Club? Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Grandma Li go to the Go Club? Could it be that she had a connection with Ji Wuxiang? Tang Zheng had always been on guard against Ji Wuxiang. The main reason was that this person was too bizarre, so he had no choice but to guard against him. When a person hid themselves too deeply and too secretively, it was usually because there was something that could not be revealed. Ji Wuxiang was like this. He had such great power, but he was like an invisible person. This made Tang Zheng unable to understand him, so he naturally did not dare to underestimate him. Yes, Grandma Li went to the Go Club, but after she came out, we lost her. After all, she is a martial king. How can we follow her? Yan Luyun said regretfully. Have you seen her since then? You don't say. My people have seen her. She goes to the Go Club every once in a while. It's very regular. Yan Luyun said doubtfully. Tang Zheng thought for a moment, then suddenly asked, when will she go to the Go Club next time? Today. Tang Zheng stood up and said impatiently, let's go. Let's go meet Grandma Li and see what she's up to. Xiao Bai and little Yu jumped out and shouted, Master, we want to go too. Yan Luyun was so frightened by this scene that he sat on the ground and shouted in panic, it can talk. He had seen Xiao Bai before, but he had never seen it speak. Now that he saw it, he was scared to death. Tang Zheng was not surprised and said, please, it's not like you don't know about demonic beasts. What's there to be surprised about? Xiao Bai's strength has increased, so it's not strange that it can talk. Yan Luyun got up and looked at Xiao Bai in shock. Xiao Bai looked at him with disdain and said, you're so timid. Yan Luyun did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was being looked down upon by an animal. Then who is it? Yen Luyun pointed at the scarlet lunar beast and asked. You're not a zoologist, so don't get to the bottom of it. Xiao Bai, you and little you stay at home and don't run around. I'm going out for a bit. Tang Zheng instructed. Xiao Bai did not force him and obediently rode little Yu to the side. Yen Luyun looked at their backs and sighed, your animals have all become spirits. The people who come to your house must have a good heart. Otherwise, they will be scared to death. The two of them came to a secret spot on the street opposite the Go Club. The people guarding the place quickly came to welcome them. Is she here? Yen Luyun asked. Reporting to young Master Yen, she hasn't arrived yet, but she should be here soon. She's here. Tang Zheng suddenly interrupted the two of them and stared at a figure in the distance. This person was Grandma Li. She did not have any makeup on and swaggered into the Go Club. It's really her. Tang Zheng was all too familiar with Grandma Li. A person's face could be changed, but it was extremely difficult to change their temperament. What should we do? Yen Luyun asked. Tang Zheng looked at the door of the Go Club from afar and said, let's go in too. Just like that? Yen Luyun asked in surprise, shouldn't we be following her and investigating her real purpose? Hee, Grandma Li has many tricks up her sleeve. Even I don't have absolute confidence that I can follow her. In that case, to prevent her from escaping, why don't we go in and block her and see what she's doing in the Go Club? Tang Zheng said. Seeing that he had made up his mind, Yen Luyun also nodded happily, okay, let's go in together. Ever since I heard you say that this Go Club is not simple, I really want to go in and investigate. Then let's take a good look this time and see what kind of medicine Ji Wuxiang is selling in his gourd, Tang Zheng said. The two of them strode towards the Go Club. The doorman did not stop the two of them, but recognized them and greeted them warmly. Would the two of you like to play a game? The doorman led the two of them in and asked respectfully. Tang Zheng did not speak and secretly spread out his divine sense. He immediately found Grandma Li's aura and said, we're looking for someone. After saying that, he walked straight in the direction of Grandma Li. The doorman's face immediately changed and he said, there are all Go friends here. Who are the two of you looking for? I'll go inform them. It's none of your business. Yen Luyun said impatiently. He and Tang Zheng strode into the hall and saw Grandma Li from afar. And standing opposite her was a man, Ji Wuxiang. Tang Zheng and Yen Luyun looked at each other. Neither of them had expected to see Ji Wuxiang, whose whereabouts were uncertain, in the Go Club. Grandma Li, I know your strength, but I am a person who stands aloof from worldly affairs. I like to play Go, and I have no interest in the grand plan you speak of. From afar, they heard Ji Wuxiang's voice full of vigor and politeness. No matter what, he always seemed to be like this, neither hot nor cold, very gentlemanly. President Ji, I'm giving you a chance. The backer behind you is already in a precarious situation. Do you really think you can protect yourself in the future troubled times? I'm showing you the right way. Don't be so ungrateful. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Grandma Li, am not. Grandma Li's attitude was obviously very bad, and her tone was unkind. Ji Wuxiang did not get angry and said gently, of course I know Grandma Li's ability very well. You're not exaggerating at all. But I, Ji Wuxiang, only want things to go according to my heart. If they don't go according to my heart, I won't agree even if I have to die. Grandma Li sneered, go according to your heart. You have a backbone. If you die, let's see how your heart will go. I am a person who is afraid of death, but I also want to follow my heart. Isn't there a way to get the best of both worlds? Ji Wuxiang sighed and said helplessly. Grandma Li's face became ferocious, and she said, how can there be such a good thing in the world? I've come to find you time and time again because I thought you were a smart person. I wanted to save your life and point out a clear path for you. Now it seems that you refuse to realize your error, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 1022. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun were very surprised to see this scene. They had thought that both sides were in cahoots, but it turned out that Granny Li wanted to force Ji Wuxiang to submit. There was no doubt that Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, and Granny Li probably wanted to take his resources for her own use. After all, Li Palace was no longer the same as before, and she was almost a commander without an army. In addition, Granny Li's action was probably not her own idea, but more likely an order from the High Lord. The High Lord must have some ulterior motive and needed Ji Wuxiang's help. No matter what the other party's purpose was, Granny Li must be stopped. Granny Li made her move, and her murderous aura soared to the sky, as if she was determined to kill. Ji Wuxiang was locked on by Granny Li's aura, so he could not escape. He could only watch as Granny Li's skinny hand grabbed his throat. Although there were other Go players in the Go Club, they could not stop her. It seemed that Ji Wuxiang would definitely die. Stop! Tang Zheng gave a deep roar as he charged towards Granny Li. His large hand reached out and grabbed Granny Li's back. Just as Granny Li's hand was about to hit Ji Wuxiang, she heard the sound of something breaking through the air and a familiar roar. Her face turned pale with fright as she flipped in the air and sent a palm towards Tang Zheng. Bang! The two palms collided, and Granny Li was sent flying, breaking a pillar and falling in a corner. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and her face was deathly pale. Tang Zheng, it's you again. Why are you always haunting me? Granny Li roared hysterically. Ji Wuxiang breathed a sigh of relief. His whole body went limp, and he staggered, almost falling. He looked at Tang Zheng, gasping for breath, and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. Young Master Tang, thank you for saving my life. Tang Zheng nodded slightly. At this moment, Granny Li seemed to understand that this operation had failed, so she got up in a sorry state and jumped up into the sky. Bang! A big hole appeared in the blue tiles of the roof. Granny Li rushed up the roof and fled. Where are you going? How could Tang Zheng watch helplessly as the cooked duck flew away, so he hurriedly chased after her. When his feet landed on the roof, he saw Granny Li, like a monkey, scampering into the nearby shopping mall. Unwilling to give up, Tang Zheng hurriedly chased after him. The shopping mall was bustling with people, and there was no sign of Granny Li. It was more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. Tang Zheng angrily stomped his foot and gnashed his teeth. Granny Li is really cunning. She let her slip away so easily. If this Go Club hadn't been built in the midst of chaos, she wouldn't have been able to escape no matter what. A moment later, he returned to the Go Club. Although Ji Wuxiang was still in a state of shock, he was a tyrant after all. He quickly regained his composure on the surface and chatted happily with Yan Luyun. Seeing that Tang Zheng had returned, Yan Luyun hastily asked, "Where is Granny Li?" Tang Zheng helplessly shook his head. She escaped. Alas, that's a pity. Yan Luyun sighed. Ji Wuxiang said, "This Granny Li is very cunning. This is also the downtown area. Young Master Tang doesn't need to worry about it. She escaped this time, but it won't be so easy next time. It's all thanks to young Master Tang and young Master Yan's help. Otherwise, my life would have been lost to Granny Li's evil hands." Tang Zheng stared at Ji Wuxiang without saying a word. Ji Wuxiang was startled and fell into contemplation. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "I know young Master Tang has a lot of questions. Feel free to ask. I'll tell you everything I know." Good. Since Manager Ji is so straightforward, I won't beat around the bush. What is Granny Li's purpose for coming to Manager Ji? Tang Zheng asked straightforwardly. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. What purpose could there be? They want to win me over. They want me to submit to the Azure Dragon Palace. Submit to the Azure Dragon Palace? Tang Zheng's head moved. The Azure Dragon Palace was a very strict organization. Why would they want to recruit talents? But after thinking about it, he felt relieved. The Azure Dragon Palace had lost many people at his hands. The martial organization, Li Palace, and Sword Pavilion were all out of their control. The High Lords would naturally want to add new blood and restore the Azure Dragon Palace's glory. But the Azure Dragon Palace had always attached great importance to martial strength. Although Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, he was still just an ordinary person. What did the High Lord see in him? A man fears fame just as a pig fears being fat. I, Ji Wuxiang, have been living in seclusion for the past few years. I have tried my best not to show myself in public because I was afraid of this kind of trouble. But now it seems that my actions were not effective. In the end, I was targeted by the Azure Dragon Palace. The Azure Dragon Palace is more terrifying than the other powers. They eat people without spitting out the bones. So, how could I dare to agree to them? Ji Wuxiang was very bitter as he sighed. Tang Zheng stared straight at Ji Wuxiang as if he wanted to discern the truth in his words. But he could not find a single flaw. Director Ji, if I may ask, what did the Azure Dragon Palace see in you when they asked you to submit? Tang Zheng asked without any trace of politeness. Ji Wuxiang was slightly startled. He hesitated as his expression flickered. Tang Zheng's head trembled. His face was gloomy as he unhappily said, Director Ji, if you still have any misgivings, then we will take our leave. As for the matters between you and the Azure Dragon Palace, I will no longer ask about it. Ji Wuxiang seemed to have been poked in his weak spot. He quickly stood up and said, Young Master Tang, you misunderstand. How could I have misunderstood anything? I will say it. Tang Zheng coldly laughed. If I don't force you, you will continue to pretend. I guess the Azure Dragon Palace has taken a fancy to my Go Club. Ji Wuxiang weakly said. Go Club? Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at each other in confusion. This was just an ordinary Go Club. Why would the Azure Dragon Palace take a fancy to it? Ji Wuxiang smiled and said, I did not tell you two the truth before. Actually, this Go Club is not as simple as you think. What you see is only the surface. Oh, then I am interested to hear more. Tang Zheng's sword-like eyebrows rose as he said with interest. I don't know if you two still remember the words I said last time, the world is a Go game. Ji Wuxiang asked. Tang Zheng thought for a moment and nodded, I still have a bit of an impression. Yan Luyun had long forgotten, but there was nothing wrong with these words. He did not understand why Ji Wuxiang would mention these words again. The world is a Go game. Each of us is a Go piece. If we can comprehend the profound meaning of this Go game, then we can play this Go game. Ji Wuxiang spoke tirelessly. Tang Zheng nodded inwardly. He still had a bit of an impression of these words. At the time, he thought that they were exaggerations, but now it seemed that there was a deeper meaning to them. I have been obsessed with Go since I was young. These years, I have spent a great deal of energy studying Go. Finally, I have made some progress and comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Last time, you also saw that the Go pieces of my Go players are very special. They are as heavy as 1,000 pounds, but in their hands, they can lift them as if they were light. They are no different from ordinary Go pieces. This is because I have comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Yan Luyun listened to these mysterious words and felt that it was inconceivable. He could not help but interrupt, Director Ji, we all know that you are very powerful and very smart, but what you said is too mysterious. It sounds like a myth. Myth, huh? Hee hee. Ji Wuxiang gave a deep smile and looked at Tang Zheng, Young Master Tang, you are a cultivator, so of course you are aware of the many mysterious techniques and methods cultivators have. Although my words are inconceivable, do you think that they are true? Tang Zheng's experience was much more abundant than Yan Luyun's. When he heard these words, he did not deny it and instead said, Director Ji, please continue. Yan Luyun saw Tang Zheng's reaction and knew that he believed most of what he said. There was nothing he could do, so he could only continue to listen to Ji Wuxiang talk non-stop. The Go game that I have comprehended is called Heaven's Go. If one is placed in it and is unable to solve the Go game, then they will be trapped in the Go game and never be able to rise again. Ji Wuxiang said. Never be able to rise again. What a big tone. Yan Luyun disapprovingly curled his lips. Tang Zheng's head moved. Could it be that Ji Wuxiang really created this kind of Go game? If the power was as he said, then it was really terrifying. The Heaven's Go game is very complicated and cannot have the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the slightest mistake will lead to a huge error. Only someone who is very familiar with Go games can set up this Go game, and in this world, only I can do it. I don't know how the Azure Dragon Palace got this information, so I guess they came for this Heaven's Go game. Since you have this kind of method, why didn't you resist? Could it be that you want me to just watch as Granny Li kills you? Tang Zheng asked. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. How could I resist? The Heaven's Go game is very difficult to set up. It is not something that can be completed in a day or night. How could I have expected that Grandma Li would be so cruel and merciless? She actually wanted to take my life without saying a word. Tang Zheng had been thinking about the flaws in Ji Wuxiang's words. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and noticed the surrounding Go players. Those heavy Go pieces were as light as a feather in their hands. Could it be that they were also proficient in Heaven's Go? Tang Zheng immediately asked. Ji Wuxiang gave Tang Zheng a thumbs up and sincerely praised, young Master Tang is really meticulous. You actually thought of this point. You were partly right and partly wrong. Oh, then I want to hear what was right and what was wrong. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's curiosity was completely aroused by Ji Wuxiang. Those Go players are indeed proficient in the way of Heaven's Go, but they are not proficient in it. They only know a part of it. Only by gathering everyone together and coordinating them under my command can I complete the Heaven's Go game. I am the core of the Heaven's Go game. These Go players are the ones I have nurtured for many years. They practice the Heaven's Go game every day so that they can play a role in the future when I set up the Heaven's Go game. Hearing this, Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun couldn't help but look at those Go players with calm expressions. Every Go player needed to be calm when playing, so that they could deal with possible dangers and not lose the game because of their emotions. These Go players were even more so. Chapter 1023. In the eyes of Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun, these seemingly mediocre and powerless chess players immediately grew in stature. Of course, they couldn't help but look at Ji Wuxiang, who had created this opportunity, in a new light. They finally understood why the Azure Dragon Hall was so eager to rope in Ji Wuxiang. The High Lord probably also understood that he was no match for Tang Zheng, so he placed his hopes on this heavenly chess. Fortunately, they had already arranged for people to be stationed at the Go Club. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't have discovered this matter, and it was even more likely that the other party would succeed. During this period of time, Granny Li has been constantly persuading me. I originally didn't want to pay attention to her, but when I thought of the Azure Dragon Hall's illustrious reputation, I felt that it wouldn't do to just ignore her. So, I also did some work specifically to target them. Ji Wuxiang's emotions calmed down, and a sneer hung on the corner of his mouth. Oh, what kind of work? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Ji Wuxiang was being bullied to the point of being above his head, and with his temper, it was impossible for him to not do anything. Sure enough, Ji Wuxiang said, I used various methods and finally determined Granny Li's hiding place. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at each other. The people sent by Yan Luyun hadn't found any reliable information at all. They didn't expect that Ji Wuxiang would beat them to it. Once they knew where Granny Li was hiding, it would naturally be of great use. Tang Zheng couldn't wait to ask, then where is she hiding? Ji Wuxiang immediately gave him an address. Tang Zheng turned around and left without looking back, saying, Young Master Yan, you stay here first. I'll be back soon. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace. In the west of the city, in a quiet house, a figure flashed and directly jumped over the wall of the courtyard. Immediately, a few feminine shouts rang out. Who is it? Whoosh! 10 or so attacks came unexpectedly, one after another flying towards Tang Zheng. Before Tang Zheng's feet touched the ground, his body spun, creating a whirlwind. With a series of clanging sounds, he repelled the incoming enemies and landed firmly on the ground. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at this group of people. "It's you!" Cries of surprise rang out again. The 10 or so pretty girls all stared at Tang Zheng. They were both shocked and angry. So it was Li Xiaotian's Xiaobai face. That slut took over the magpie's nest, betrayed the palace master, and seized the Li palace. Now you actually dare to deliver yourself to my doorstep. Where's that slut Li Xiaotian? Was she here as well? Tell her to come out and hide in the back like a coward. Ying Yu's face was as cold as ice as she scolded. As the direct disciple of Granny Li, her life had undergone earth-shattering changes. She had become like a stray dog, hiding in the courtyard of the capital. All of this was thanks to Li Xiaotian. Her anger towards Li Xiaotian was difficult to conceal. Of course, she also did not have a good impression of Tang Zheng. Although her voice was stern, her heart was filled with worry. Her whereabouts had been exposed. If other enemies came to attack, then they might not be a match for them. The palace master had not returned after leaving and she did not know where he went. What should she do? At present, she could only temporarily stabilize the other side and wait for the palace master to come back and deal with him. Tang Zheng also recognized Ying Yu and said, "So it wasn't just Granny Li who came to the capital. Even you remnants of the Li Palace came with her. We are the legitimate members of the Li Palace. That slut Li Xiaotian is a traitor." Ying Yu loudly retorted. Tang Zheng did not want to be entangled with the other side and asked, "Where is Granny Li?" "Just now, she escaped. Now that she has nowhere to run, let her come out and see me. As a grand expert, she shouldn't be too afraid to show her face, right?" Ying Yu's expression suddenly changed as she cried out in alarm, "What did you say? You've seen the palace master?" "Of course. Just now, she escaped. Now, she won't be so lucky." Ying Yu's heart thumped as her mind madly jumped. Suddenly realizing that the situation was bad, she gradually began to think of retreating. She no longer hoped for the palace master to save her, so she loudly shouted, "Kill him." Then, like a loach, she retreated backwards. The others quickly rushed forward and fiercely attacked Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a cold light as he attacked like lightning. The person at the front was struck in the throat and immediately fell to the ground, unable to get up. The others also followed in his footsteps. None of them could withstand a single blow and were knocked down one after another. Compared to the current Tang Zheng and these ordinary martial artists, one was in the sky and one was on the ground. Even if the other side had more people, they would not be of much use. Everyone fell to the ground, but Ying Yu had just jumped onto the courtyard wall, trying to escape. Tang Zheng casually broke off a branch and turned it into a sharp sword, which flew towards Ying Yu with a "so" sound. "Ah!" Ying Yu screamed and fell from the courtyard wall. Struggling to get up, she found that the place where her leg had been hit was painful as if it had been broken. Her eyes flashed with despair as she raised her head to look, coincidentally meeting Tang Zheng's gaze. "Now you can't escape. Be honest, where is Granny Li now?" Tang Zheng asked coldly. "I don't know." Ying Yu's answer was resolute, "You want me to betray the palace master? In your dreams. Is that so? Then I will make you wish you were dead. That feeling won't be good. In the end, you will still tell me," Tang Zheng said lightly. Ying Yu shuddered, her eyes filled with fear, but she still gritted her teeth and refused to speak. "Dream on, I don't know the whereabouts of the palace master. Even if I did, I would never tell you." Tang Zheng did not believe her. Since she was an enemy, there was no need to be merciful, so he directly used his soul-searching technique. Ying Yu screamed and tried to resist, but in the end, she fell to the ground weakly and became a fool. Tang Zheng narrowed his eyes slightly. The information obtained from the soul-searching technique showed that she was not lying. She really did not know the whereabouts of Granny Li. It was just that Tang Zheng had figured out their whereabouts during this time. Since the defeat of the Li Palace, they had come to the capital and were all placed in this courtyard by Granny Li. From then on, Granny Li left early and returned late. No one knew what she was busy with. No one knew, just like prisoners, they stayed in this small courtyard every day. Granny Li was very dignified, so even if they had doubts in their hearts, no one dared to question or ask. They believed that the palace master must have her own plans and would make a comeback in the near future. But it seemed that they would not live to see that day. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh. Even Yingyu did not know, let alone the others. This trip could be considered a waste of time. What he did not know was that outside the courtyard, there was a pair of eyes looking at this courtyard from afar. This was Granny Li. On the road, in order to make sure that she had completely gotten rid of Tang Zheng, she deliberately took a long detour, and finally determined that there was no tail, so she hurried back. But before she reached the door, she found that Yingyu had jumped up the wall and then fell down with a scream. Granny Li originally wanted to rescue her, but in the next second, she stopped and glared at the courtyard as if she was about to spit fire. She knew that her disciples had been completely wiped out, so if she rushed in, she would only be throwing her life away. She gritted her teeth, and with a poof, her fingers left long scratches on the trunk of a nearby tree. She took a few deep breaths, suppressing the anger in her heart. Yingyu, I will definitely avenge you. Granny Li murderously muttered to herself in a low voice, then took a deep look at the courtyard, turned around, and left. Tang Zheng naturally did not know that he had brushed past Granny Li and returned in disappointment. As for the disciples of the Li Palace, he had left them to the Yan family to deal with. When Ji Wuxiang saw Tang Zheng return, his butt seemed to have been installed with springs, and he jumped up from the chair and anxiously asked, "Young Master Tang, did you catch Granny Li?" Tang Zheng shook his head, "I didn't see her." She must have known that the matter was exposed, so she ran away and only caught some small fish and shrimps. Ji Wuxiang was extremely disappointed and sighed, "I should have told young Master Tang this news earlier. Perhaps Granny Li would not have been able to escape." "There is no if." Tang Zheng shook his head, since the Azure Dragon Palace has already set their sights on Chief Ji, with their style of doing things, they will definitely not give up. What does Chief Ji plan to do next? Ji Wuxiang's face was difficult. How can I be a match for the Azure Dragon Palace? Although I have the celestial chess, it is very complicated to set up this chess game. It is not something that can be done in a day, so, it seems that I will not be able to escape this calamity. Tang Zheng disagreed, Chief Ji must be joking. Your connections are unparalleled, and you have been doing well in the capital these past few years. No one dares to provoke you. This is a great ability, so how can there be no way? Granny Li is right about one thing. The backing behind me is already on the verge of collapse. My good days are coming to an end. Ji Wuxiang shook his head and sighed. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at each other, their eyes flashing with a strange light. There was no doubt that Ji Wuxiang was extremely mysterious to the public. Even the great families knew very little about him. They only knew that he had a lot of power, and that there were very few things that he could not handle. Everyone guessed that he had a great backer, but no one knew who it was. Ji Wuxiang looked at the two and smiled bitterly, "I know how you guys usually guess about me. In my line of work, the more mysterious and unpredictable I am, the better. This is my best protection. Since I am indebted to the two of you for saving my life, Ji Wuxiang, will not hide anything from you. I, Ji Wuxiang, have always been clear about gratitude and grudges. So, there is no harm in telling you." Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun both opened their eyes wide in curiosity, waiting for his answer. When they heard Ji Wuxiang say a name, Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun's faces changed dramatically. Because this name was too famous. It was a person who was as famous as the chief in power, and even more senior. Ji Wuxiang seemed to have expected the two's reaction. He continued, "These years, I have obtained too many benefits for him. So, in the eyes of the upper class, I am a thorn in their side. Many people want to take me down. My backer is old enough, and he is at a disadvantage in this power struggle. His butt is not clean either. In recent years, the tiger hunting operation has been in full swing, and he is lacking a real tiger. So, I am afraid that my backer will become this tiger and be knocked off his pedestal. Tang Zheng was overwhelmed with shock. There were actually so many secrets that no one knew. Chapter 1024. In order to avoid arousing the suspicions of the five-clawed golden dragon, Tang Zheng brought Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu out of the imperial city. The harvest this time was quite bountiful, allowing him to come into contact with a brand new world. The legend of the dragon slayer made his heart surge. It turned out that there were such powerful people in this world. The dragon clan was not always high and mighty and invincible. As long as they were strong enough, there was no need to fear any enemy. The sky revealed a white belly, and the rising sun illuminated the capital, turning it into a golden yellow. At the end of August, the capital was very hot. Even early in the morning, there was an impulse to soak in ice water. Tang Zheng had long been immune to the cold and heat. He sat in the courtyard and watched the rising sun. Xiao Bai rode little Yu Yu back and forth in the courtyard, as if he was patrolling his own territory. Fang Shishir went to school to prepare for the new students. Lu Qingmei went to work. And went out early in the morning to work on the jewelry. Marshall was not idle either. He was cultivating in the training room. Speaking of the training room, this was something that the women fiddled with. They tidied up a basement and then transformed it into a training room. There were many weapons in it, and there was also a battle room. The women would occasionally have a battle practice on a whim. Tang Zheng had seen it once and could not help but admit that when women fought, they were really valiant. Especially when women fought against women, they did not have much tenderness for the fairer sex. In their words, practice should be the same as actual combat, with real swords and real spears. Only then would they be able to display their full potential. It was precisely because of this that the women's passion for training was high. Because everyone wanted to win in the training. If they failed, they would definitely think of a way to get back at them next time. Looking at their tenacity, Tang Zheng praised them a few times, causing the women to be even more motivated. In fact, they were very clear that as Tang Zheng's strength increased, if they did not improve themselves, they would always be protected by Tang Zheng. If they were powerless, they would be a burden. No one wanted to be weak. They were in contact with the strong all day long, so this idea was especially strong. After all, leisure time was short. Yan Luyun hurriedly rushed over. Seeing his leisurely appearance, he sat down on a nearby chair and crossed his legs. "Young Master Tang, your days are too comfortable." Tang Zheng looked at him with a smile and said, "You're the young master of the Yan family. Are you having a hard time?" "Of course. You don't know how busy I've been these days." "Oh, why?" Yan Luyun stared wide-eyed at Tang Zheng and said, "Why?" "It's all because of you. Didn't you want to find the whereabouts of the Azure Dragon Hall's High Lord? How could we dare to be negligent? We practically turned the entire capital upside down." "Oh, what did you find?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. "Don't you know who I am? I've been busy for so long. If I didn't find anything, how could I have the nerve to come see you?" "Of course I found something," Yan Luyun said proudly. He and Tang Zheng were already completely familiar with each other. He was not as cautious as the elders in his family. Instead, he was getting closer and closer to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. "Don't keep me in suspense. I've worked so hard for so long. How could you not let me show off a little?" "All right, since you're so impatient, I'll tell you. The High Lord's whereabouts are very mysterious. We couldn't find him, but we found the whereabouts of another person." "Who?" "Grandma Li." "It's her." Tang Zheng was shocked. When Grandma Li returned to the Li Palace, she didn't get any benefits. In the end, she took a few disciples and fled. He didn't expect her to come to the capital. Yes, this Granny Li is an expert. If it was in the past, we really wouldn't have dared to target her. But things are different now. With an expert like you, even the palace master of Li Palace has fallen from the altar. Don't be ridiculous. Where is Grandma Li now? Guess. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. I'm not a fortune teller. Don't tell me I can figure it out with my fingers. Alright, I'll tell you. She went to Ji Wuxiang's Go Club. Fortunately, you reminded us many times to pay attention to this Go Club, so we were able to find out. Go Club? Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Grandma Li go to the Go Club? Could it be, she had a connection with Ji Wuxiang? Tang Zheng had always been on guard against Ji Wuxiang. The main reason was that this person was too bizarre, so he couldn't help but be on guard. When a person hid themselves too deeply and too secretively, it was usually because there was something that couldn't be revealed. Ji Wuxiang was like this. He had such great power, but he was like a transparent person. Tang Zheng couldn't figure him out, so he naturally didn't dare to underestimate him. Yes, Grandma Li went to the Go Club, but we lost track of her after she came out. After all, she's a martial king. How can we follow her? Yan Luyun said regretfully. Have you seen her since then? You don't say, my people have seen her. She goes to the Go Club every once in a while. It's very regular. Yan Luyun said doubtfully. Tang Zheng thought for a moment, then suddenly asked, then when will she go to the Go Club next time? Today. Tang Zheng stood up and said impatiently, let's go. Let's go meet Grandma Li and see what she's up to. Xiao Bai and little Yu Yu jumped out and shouted, Master, we want to go too. Yan Luyun was so frightened by this scene that he sat on the ground and shouted in panic, it can talk. He had seen Xiao Bai before, but he had never seen it speak. Now that he saw it, he was really scared to death. Tang Zheng was used to it and said, please, it's not like you don't know about demonic beasts. What's there to be surprised about? Xiao Bai's strength has increased, so it's not strange that it can talk. Yan Luyun got up and looked at Xiao Bai in shock. Xiao Bai looked at him with disdain and said, so cowardly. Yan Luyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was being looked down on by an animal. Then who is it? Yan Luyun pointed at the scarlet lunar beast and asked. You're not a zoologist, so don't get to the bottom of it. Xiao Bai, you and little Yu stay at home and don't run around. I'm going out for a bit. Tang Zheng instructed. Xiao Bai didn't force him and obediently rode little Yu to the side. Yan Luyun looked at their backs and sighed, the animals in your house have all become spirits. The people who come to your house must have a good heart. Otherwise, they'll be scared to death. The two of them came to a secret spot on the street opposite the Go Club. The people who were waiting there quickly came to welcome them. Is she here? Yan Luyun asked. Reporting to young Master Yan, she hasn't arrived yet, but I think she'll be here soon. She's here. Tang Zheng suddenly interrupted the two of them and stared at a figure in the distance. This person was Grandma Li. She didn't put on any makeup and swaggered into the Go Club. It's really her. Tang Zheng was all too familiar with Grandma Li. A person's face could be changed, but it was extremely difficult to change their temperament. What should we do? Yan Luyun asked. Tang Zheng looked at the door of the Go Club from afar and said, let's go in too. Just like that? Yan Luyun asked in surprise. Shouldn't we be following her and then investigating her real purpose? Ha, Grandma Li has many tricks up her sleeve. Even I don't have absolute confidence that I can follow her. In that case, in order to prevent her from slipping away, why don't we go in and block her and see what she's doing in the Go Club? Tang Zheng said. Seeing that he had made up his mind, Yan Luyun nodded happily. Okay, let's go in together. Ever since I heard you say that this Go Club isn't simple, I really want to go in and explore it. Then let's take a good look this time and see what Ji Wuxiang is selling in his gourd. Tang Zheng said. The two of them strode towards the Go Club. The doorman didn't stop them, but recognized them and greeted them warmly. Would you two like to play a game? The doorman led the two in and asked respectfully. Tang Zheng didn't speak and secretly spread out his divine sense. He immediately found Grandma Li's aura and said, "We're looking for someone." After saying that, he walked straight in the direction of Grandma Li. The doorman's face immediately changed and he said, "Everyone here is a Go player. If you're looking for someone, I'll inform them." "It's none of your business," Yan Luyun said impatiently. He and Tang Zheng strode into the hall and saw Grandma Li from afar. Standing opposite her was a man, Ji Wuxiang. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at each other. Neither of them had expected to see Ji Wuxiang, whose whereabouts were unpredictable, in the Go Club. "Grandma Li, I know your strength, but I'm a person who stands aloof from worldly affairs. I usually like to play Go. I'm not interested in the grand plan you speak of." From afar, they heard Ji Wuxiang's voice full of energy and courteous. No matter what, he always seemed to be like this, neither hot nor cold, very gentlemanly. "President Ji, I'm giving you a chance. The backer behind you is already in a precarious situation. Do you really think you can protect yourself in the future troubled times? I'm giving you a clear path. Don't be ungrateful. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Grandma Li, am not afraid of you." Grandma Li's attitude was obviously very bad, and her tone was unkind. Ji Wuxiang did not get angry, and gently said, "I'm very clear about Grandma Li's ability. These words are not exaggerated at all. But I, Ji Wuxiang, only want things to go according to my heart. If they don't go according to my heart, even if I die, I won't agree." Grandma Li sneered, "Go according to your heart. You have a backbone. If you die, I'd like to see how your heart will go. I'm a person who is afraid of death, but I also want to go according to my heart. Is there no way to get the best of both worlds?" Ji Wuxiang sighed and said helplessly. Grandma Li's face became ferocious and said, "How can there be such a good thing in the world? I've come to look for you time and time again. I thought you were a smart person and wanted to save your life and point out a path for you. But now, it seems that you're obstinate. Don't blame me for being ruthless." Chapter 1025. Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun were surprised by this scene. They had thought that the two sides were in cahoots, but it turned out that Granny Li wanted to force Ji Wuxiang to submit. There was no doubt that Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, and Granny Li probably wanted to take his resources for her own use. After all, Li Palace was no longer the same as before, and she was almost a commander without an army. In addition, Granny Li's action was probably not her own idea, but more likely an order from the High Lord. The High Lord must have some ulterior motive and needed Ji Wuxiang's help. No matter what the other side's purpose was, Granny Li's action must be stopped. Granny Li made her move, and her murderous aura soared to the sky, as if she was determined to kill. Ji Wuxiang was locked on by Granny Li's aura and could not escape. He could only watch as Granny Li's skinny hand reached for his throat. Although there were other Go players in the club, they could not stop her. Ji Wuxiang seemed to be dead for sure. "Stop!" Tang Zheng gave a deep roar as he charged towards Granny Li. His large hand reached out and grabbed Granny Li's back. Granny Li's hand was about to hit Ji Wuxiang when she heard the sound of something breaking through the air and a familiar roar behind her. She turned pale with fright and flipped in the air, her palm striking at Tang Zheng. Bang! The two palms collided and Granny Li was sent flying, crashing into a pillar and falling in a corner. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face was deathly pale. "Tang Zheng, it's you again, why are you always haunting me?" Granny Li roared hysterically. Ji Wuxiang breathed a sigh of relief. His whole body went limp and he staggered, almost falling down. Panting, he looked at Tang Zheng and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. "Young Master Tang, thank you for saving my life." Tang Zheng nodded slightly. At this moment, Granny Li seemed to understand that the operation had failed, so she got up and leaped into the sky. Bang! A big hole appeared in the blue tiles of the roof. Granny Li jumped up and fled. "Where are you going?" How could Tang Zheng watch helplessly as the cooked duck flew away, so he hurriedly chased after her. When his feet landed on the roof, he saw Granny Lee, like a monkey, scampering into the nearby shopping mall. Unwilling to give up, Tang Zheng hurriedly chased after him. The shopping mall was bustling with people, and there was no sign of Granny Lee. It was more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. Tang Zheng angrily stomped his foot and gnashed his teeth. Granny Lee is really cunning. She let her slip away so easily. If this Go Club hadn't been built in the midst of chaos, she wouldn't have been able to escape no matter what. A moment later, he returned to the Go Club. Although Ji Wuxiang was still in a state of shock, he was a tyrant after all. He quickly regained his composure on the surface and chatted happily with Yan Luyun. Seeing that Tang Zheng had returned, Yan Luyun hastily asked, "Where is Granny Lee?" Tang Zheng helplessly shook his head. "She escaped." "Alas, that's a pity." Yan Luyun sighed. Ji Wuxiang said, "This Granny Lee is very cunning. This is also the downtown area. Young Master Tang doesn't need to worry about it. She escaped this time, but it won't be so easy next time. It's all thanks to young Master Tang and young Master Yan's help. Otherwise, my life would have been lost to Granny Lee's evil hands." Tang Zheng stared at Ji Wuxiang without saying a word. Ji Wuxiang was startled and fell into contemplation. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "I know young Master Tang has a lot of questions. Feel free to ask. I will tell you everything I know." "Good. Since Manager Ji is so straightforward, I won't beat around the bush. What is Granny Lee's purpose in coming to Manager Ji?" Tang Zheng asked straightforwardly. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly and said, "What other purpose could there be? They are trying to bribe me. They want me to submit to the Azure Dragon Palace." "Submit to the Azure Dragon Palace?" Tang Zheng's head moved. The Azure Dragon Palace was a very strict organization. Why would they want to recruit talents? But after thinking about it, he felt relieved. The Azure Dragon Palace had lost a lot of people at his hands. The martial organization, Li Palace, and Sword Pavilion were all out of their control. The High Lords would naturally want to add new blood and restore the Azure Dragon Palace's glory. But the Azure Dragon Palace had always placed great importance on martial strength. Although Ji Wuxiang had a lot of power, he was still just an ordinary person. What did the High Lord see in him? A man fears fame just as a pig fears being fat. I, Ji Wuxiang, have been living in seclusion for the past few years. I have tried my best not to show myself in public because I was afraid of this kind of trouble. Now it seems that my actions were not effective. In the end, I was targeted by the Azure Dragon Palace. The Azure Dragon Palace is more terrifying than the other powers. They eat people without spitting out the bones. So, how could I dare to agree to them? Ji Wuxiang was very bitter as he sighed. Tang Zheng stared straight at Ji Wuxiang as if he wanted to discern the truth in his words. But he could not find a single flaw. "Director Ji, if I may ask, what did the Azure Dragon Palace see in you when they asked you to submit to them?" Tang Zheng asked without any trace of politeness. Ji Wuxiang was slightly startled. He hesitated as his expression flickered. Tang Zheng's head trembled. His face was gloomy as he unhappily said, "Director Ji, if you still have any misgivings, then we will take our leave. As for the matters between you and the Azure Dragon Palace in the future, I will no longer ask about it." Ji Wuxiang seemed to have been poked in his weak spot. He quickly stood up and said, "Young Master Tang misunderstands." "How could I have misunderstood?" "I'll say it." Tang Zheng coldly laughed. "If I don't force you, you'll continue to pretend. I guess that the Azure Dragon Palace has taken a fancy to my Go Club." Ji Wuxiang weakly said. "Go Club?" Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun looked at each other in confusion. This was just an ordinary Go Club. Why would the Azure Dragon Palace take a fancy to this place? Ji Wuxiang smiled and said, "I didn't tell you two the truth before. Actually, this Go Club is not as simple as you think it is. What you see is only the surface." "Oh, then I'm interested to hear more." Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and said with interest. I don't know if you two still remember what I said last time, the world is a Go game. Ji Wuxiang asked. Tang Zheng thought for a while and nodded, I have a bit of an impression of it. Yan Luyun had long since forgotten, but there was nothing wrong with this sentence. He did not understand why Ji Wuxiang would bring it up again. The world is a Go game. Each of us is a Go piece. If we can comprehend the profound meaning of this Go game, then we can play this Go game. Ji Wuxiang spoke tirelessly. Tang Zheng nodded inwardly. He still had a bit of an impression of these words. At the time, he thought that they were exaggerations, but now it seemed that there was a deeper meaning to them. I've been obsessed with Go since I was young. I've spent a lot of energy studying Go and finally made some progress. I've comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Last time, you also saw that the Go pieces here are very special. They are as heavy as 1,000 pounds, but in their hands, they can lift them as if they were light. They are no different from ordinary Go pieces. This is because I've comprehended the profound meaning of the Go game. Yan Luyun listened to these mysterious words and felt that it was inconceivable. He could not help but interrupt, Director Ji, we all know that you are very powerful and very smart, but what you said is too mysterious. It sounds like a myth. Myth, huh? Hee hee. Ji Wuxiang smiled meaningfully and looked at Tang Zheng, young Master Tang, you are a cultivator. Of course you are aware of the many mysterious techniques and methods cultivators have. Although my words are inconceivable, do you think it is possible for them to be true? Tang Zheng's experience was obviously much richer than Yan Luyun. After hearing these words, he did not deny it. Instead, he said, Director Ji, please continue. Yan Luyun saw Tang Zheng's reaction and knew that he was 70 to 80% convinced. There was nothing he could do, so he could only continue to listen to Ji Wuxiang talk non-stop. The Go game that I've comprehended is called Heaven's Go. If you are placed in it and are unable to solve the Go game, then you will be trapped in the Go game forever. Ji Wuxiang said. Forever unable to turn over, what a big tone. Yan Luyun disapproved as he curled his lips. Tang Zheng's head moved. Could it be that Ji Wuxiang had really created this kind of Go game? If the power was as he said, then it was really terrifying. The Heaven's Go game is very complicated. There can't be the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the slightest mistake will lead to a huge error. Only people who are very familiar with Go games can set up this Go game, and in this world, only I can do it. I don't know how the Azure Dragon Palace got this information, so I guess they came for this Heaven's Go game. Since you have this kind of method, why didn't you resist? Could it be that you want me to watch as Granny Li kills you? Tang Zheng asked. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly, how could I resist? This Heaven's Go game is very difficult to set up. It's not something that can be completed in a day or night. How could I have expected that Grandma Li would be so cruel and merciless? She actually wanted to take my life without saying a word. Tang Zheng had been thinking about the flaws in Ji Wuxiang's words. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and noticed the surrounding Go players. Those heavy Go pieces were as light as a feather in their hands. Could it be that they were also proficient in Heaven's Go? Tang Zheng immediately asked. Ji Wuxiang gave Tang Zheng a thumbs up and sincerely praised, young Master Tang is really meticulous. You actually thought of this point. You were partly right and partly wrong. Oh, then I'd like to hear what was right and what was wrong. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's curiosity was completely aroused by Ji Wuxiang. Those Go players are indeed proficient in the way of Heaven's Go, but they are not proficient in it. They only know a part of it. Only by gathering everyone together and coordinating them under my command can I complete the Heaven's Go game. I am the core of the Heaven's Go game. These Go players are the ones I have nurtured for many years. They practice the Heaven's Go game every day so that they can play a role in the future when I set up the Heaven's Go game. Hearing this, Tang Zheng and Yan Luyun couldn't help but look at those Go players with calm expressions. Every Go player needed to be calm when playing, so that they could deal with possible crises and not lose the game because of their emotions. These Go players were even more so. Chapter 1026. Tang Zheng did not want to be involved in the power struggle of the upper echelons. He was not interested in the big backer behind Ji Wuxiang and calmly said, Chief Ji is a smart person. Naturally, he will have his own way to deal with the crisis in front of him. Ji Wuxiang smiled embarrassedly, intelligence alone cannot solve everything. People must have strong strength. Otherwise, it can only be regarded as petty tricks. Young Master Tang is not only smart, but also has strong strength. This is the true invincible position. Yan Luyun thought about it and looked at Ji Wuxiang and thought, listening to his tone, could it be that he wants to rely on Tang Zheng? This was very different from the Ji Wuxiang in his impression. He had always thought that Ji Wuxiang was omnipotent, but now it seemed that he was only so. His previous reliance came from the backer behind him. Yan Luyun could not help but look at Tang Zheng again. His heart was filled with emotion. No matter how strong a person was, when facing him, it seemed that they would be dwarfed. Young Master Tang, there is something that I don't know if I should say. Ji Wuxiang said hesitantly. What is it? My backer doesn't get along well with the chief you're in contact with. They've been fighting both openly and covertly. This time, he's bound to lose, and that chief's power and status will be greatly improved. As far as I know, you don't seem to have a good relationship with that chief. This is not a good thing for you, Ji Wuxiang said meaningfully. Tang Zheng's eyes trembled as he said, thank you for the reminder. He and the chief were not on good terms. Especially on the matter of the five-clawed golden dragon. It could be said that he had completely gone against the chief's wishes. He had chosen to endure, but his heart was definitely filled with anger. As long as he was given the opportunity, he would definitely explode. Tang Zheng was very clear on this point, so Ji Wuxiang's reminder made Tang Zheng pay attention to it. He had to guard against the possible crisis. Chief Ji, if there is nothing else, we will take our leave. Thank you for your help. Forgive me for not seeing you off. Tang Zheng glanced at the numerous Go players and left the Go club under Yan Luyun's suspicious gaze. After walking across a street, Yan Luyun finally could not help but ask, Young Master Tang, Ji Wuxiang obviously wants to rely on you. Why don't you accept his offer? Tang Zheng shook his head. We don't know how trustworthy Ji Wuxiang's words are. Besides, he's not at the end of his rope yet. There's no need for us to intervene so early. Then aren't you worried that the heavens chess piece in his hands will fall into the hands of others? Tang Zheng smiled and said, even though he brags to the heavens, but in the end, what you hear is false and what you see is true. Your people continue to keep an eye on him and see what other tricks he has up his sleeve. Yan Luyun nodded and said regretfully, it's a pity that Granny Li escaped this time. She's also a big scourge. Compared to the High Lord, she's just a small character. The most important thing now is to find the High Lord. He hasn't shown himself yet, so I suspect that he's brewing some big scheme. This is the calm before the storm. Tang Zheng said earnestly. Yan Luyun's face darkened as he nodded heavily. That's reasonable. What about the 100 Faces Star Sovereign? Is there any movement from him? Tang Zheng asked. We suspect that he's returned to the island nation, but he hasn't shown himself since. In a foreign country, it's not as easy for our people to investigate. Yan Luyun said somewhat helplessly. Tang Zheng nodded and said, with the 100 Faces Star Sovereign's personality, he definitely won't keep hiding. He's definitely plotting something. It doesn't matter if he doesn't show himself now. As long as we keep an eye on him, we'll find some clues. Yan Luyun explained, and then the two of them parted ways. At the same time, Granny Li arrived at a quiet place after escaping. She respectfully knocked on the door, and the door opened. She restrained her angry expression and calmed down a little. Then, she walked in with heavy steps. A moment later, she came in front of a person and bowed respectfully. High Lord, I've failed. Not only did I fail to take Ji Wuxiang for my own use, but I also attracted Tang Zheng. If I hadn't escaped fast enough, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back to see the High Lord. The High Lord's eyes flickered under the mask, making people shudder. He stared at Granny Li for a long time. Granny Li didn't dare to meet his eyes and lowered her head. It's all this subordinate's fault. Please punish me, High Lord. The High Lord looked at her with burning eyes and finally opened his mouth. This is an uncontrollable factor. Tang Zheng is my biggest enemy. The capital city is his base camp and he has many eyes and ears. It's not surprising that he ruined our plan. Not only did he ruin our plan, but he also made me lose a lot of disciples. He's really hateful. Granny Li's eyes were almost spitting fire as she said hatefully. The High Lord was surprised. You lost all your disciples. Yes, I couldn't protect them. I'm really ashamed. Granny Li said dejectedly. Raise your head, this is not your fault. You just have to put it on Tang Zheng's head. The High Lord said in a powerful voice. Granny Li restrained her emotions and asked, High Lord, Ji Wuxiang's plan is ruined. What should we do next? Humph, ruined? Who said so? He's already cornered. If he still dares to persist, I'll make him wish he was dead. The High Lord's voice was gloomy to the extreme, making people shudder. Granny Li nodded in agreement. The High Lord is wise. You should conserve your energy first. You'll be busy later. Don't go to Ji Wuxiang's side. They've already set up an ambush, so your whereabouts must have been exposed. That's why you were surrounded and intercepted by Tang Zheng. Granny Li's face reddened. I did notice people following me a few times, but I thought they were Ji Wuxiang's men. In the end, I successfully shook them off, so I didn't take it to heart. I didn't expect Tang Zheng's men to be among them. Why would he send people to watch the Go Club? Could it be that he also knew about the celestial chess? That's not it. Tang Zheng has always been on guard against Ji Wuxiang. With Tang Zheng's cautious style, it's impossible for him not to be on guard against such a mysterious existence. It's just that the time you went was too coincidental and you were discovered by Tang Zheng's men. With just a few words, the High Lord had actually guessed the whole story. It had to be said that enemies often understood each other better. High Lord, after Song Yu left with the remnants of the Sword Pavilion, he still hasn't contacted you? Granny Li asked on a sudden whim. Now that the Azure Dragon Hall's manpower was sharply reduced, Granny Li would pay attention to people like Song Yu. If it were before, Song Yu wouldn't even enter his eyes. The High Lord laughed. His laughter penetrated through the mask and was somewhat strange. Song Yu is truly worthy of being the young master of the Song family. Not only is he meticulous, but he's also extremely cunning and ambitious. I've really underestimated him before. If he dares to play tricks in front of the High Lord, I'll directly take his little life. Granny Li said fiercely. The High Lord pondered for a long time before slowly saying, You don't need to worry about Song Yu. He can't escape from my grasp. I'm just waiting to see what kind of tricks he can play in the end and whether he can give me a little surprise. Hearing him say this, Granny Li didn't dare to say anything else and respectfully retreated. In the courtyard house, the bureau chief was sitting at his desk going through documents. During this period, he was in high spirits. The matter of the Imperial City and the five-clawed golden dragon had originally left him in a terrible fix and even became a stain on his opponent's attack. However, nothing was absolute. In the end, under the guidance of the High Lord, he actually turned defeat into victory and defeated his opponent. Although his opponent hadn't fallen yet, he was already at death's door. He believed that as long as he released his trump card, his opponent would definitely not have a chance to breathe and fall off the altar, becoming a sacrificial lamb. Winner takes all, it had always been like this. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but hum an old song. This was his favorite song when he was young. When he went to the countryside to cut the queue, he liked this song. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past and a person appeared in front of him. The bureau chief wasn't surprised. He had long been used to the other party's mysterious appearance. He put down the pen in his hand and raised his head. Sure enough, he saw the familiar mask of the High Lord. He was very wary of the High Lord in the beginning and used each other. However, now that the Azure Dragon Palace had suffered a great loss in the hands of Tang Zheng, the bureau chief was surprised but also had an unexpected surprise. That was, the High Lord, who was at his wit's end, actually helped him greatly. This action against his opponent was a gift that made the bureau chief very satisfied. He often thought proudly in his heart, no matter how powerful the High Lord was, he still had the last laugh. These martial artists looked glamorous, but after all, they were rootless duckweeds. They didn't have the support of the country and didn't have the support of the people. They looked glamorous, but in reality, they could easily be defeated. Wasn't this the best proof? Although he would fail, he had the foundation and the support of the people, so he could still make a comeback. Therefore, he was the one who had the last laugh. When he looked at the High Lord, he wasn't as nervous and cautious as before. He casually pointed to the chair opposite him and said, "Have a seat. We can carry out the plan to deal with that old thing now. Let's move quickly." The High Lord nodded in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. "Ha, that old thing probably wouldn't even dream that I know so many dirty things about him. Ji Wuxiang, that white glove, has done so many dirty things for him. It seems like there's no evidence against him, but in fact, there are many things that can be used against him. This is his death warrant. Once the time is up, his old life will be taken away," the bureau chief said proudly. After a pause, the bureau chief continued, "Ji Wuxiang can't be allowed to continue living in this world. He knows too many things. You know what to do, right?" The High Lord nodded lightly. The bureau chief relaxed and said, "Ji Wuxiang is actually a talent. It's just that he stood on the wrong side and chose the wrong master. Naturally, what awaits him won't be a good ending. Your Azure Dragon Palace is really good at gathering information. You even know the dirty things that they do in private." The High Lord remained calm and said, "The opponent has been eliminated. What are your plans next?" Chapter 1027. The Great Lord stared at the bureau chief and asked, "What do you think? Do you still remember the 100 Faces Star Lord? I heard that you had dealings with him in the 100,000 Mountains," the bureau chief asked. The Great Lord nodded and looked at the bureau chief in confusion. The bureau chief enjoyed the feeling of not being able to see through him. It was a wonderful feeling to be in control of everything. That's all in the past. I hope you don't take it to heart. Now, the 100 Faces Star-Lord has taken root in the island nation and is very close to the royal family. This is really unexpected, the bureau chief said emotionally. The Great Lord remained silent. He didn't know what the bureau chief was up to. The bureau chief looked at him with a smile and revealed the answer. The royal family of the island nation has sent a message that they want to cooperate with us. The island nation used to be a dog that wagged its tail and begged the Atlantic Empire. Now that the Atlantic Empire no longer has the Rockefeller family, its power has decreased sharply. This dog naturally wants to find a new master. The rise of Huaxia is unstoppable, and we are so close to the island nation. Naturally, they want to rely on us. The Great Lord was silent for a while, as if digesting this news. After a long time, he said, "The island nation is ambitious. Moreover, they invaded Huaxia and have a long-standing feud with us. Cooperating with them is tantamount to plotting against a tiger." The bureau chief shook his head and looked at the Great Lord mockingly. "This is an old idea from decades ago. Our ideas must keep pace with the times to be the best. There are no eternal enemies in this world, only eternal benefits. This is especially important for us, the rulers. You're not an official, so naturally, you won't understand this. After all, the courage of an ignorant man doesn't have much practical use in this society." As he spoke, the bureau chief bent his finger and knocked on the table. Dong, dong, dong. The crisp sound seemed to remind the Great Lord. The Great Lord's eyes didn't change at all. He said softly, "Understood." The bureau chief knew when to stop and continued, "We can use the island nation's resources to deal with Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng has many experts around him. It's not so easy to deal with him," the Great Lord reminded. The bureau chief pursed his lips and said disapprovingly, "No matter how strong an individual is, there is a limit. It's the new era now. How can we still use those old ideas to deal with things?" Tang Zheng's business was so big, and this was his weakness. If the government made a move, it would be criticized by others, thinking that they were deliberately suppressing him. But if it's a threat from the outside world, then no one can say anything. The Great Lord's gaze turned cold. He stared at the bureau chief and said thoughtfully, "That makes sense. But what was the breakthrough point? We have to find a place to bite, only then can we kill him. He has already delivered a breakthrough for us." "Oh, what breakthrough?" "They've recently developed a new drug, and they're bragging about it. They're sending it for approval. If there's a problem at this time, then we can break through their layers of protection. Of course, this kind of thing is best left to the people of the island nation. How do I operate it?" The bureau chief smiled mysteriously and said, "There are specializations in every field. The people of the island nation are the best at scheming. They will naturally think of a specific solution. We just need to provide them with a breakthrough point." The Great Lord didn't ask further. The sun shone brightly in Beijing in September. Yenqing University was bustling with people, and there were many new faces. It was time for the students to return to school. For Tang Zheng and the rest, they had already advanced from university rookies to second-year veterans. Their dresses were fluttering in the wind. Pairs of fiery eyes were searching for a target in the crowd. Fire, theft, and seniors. This group of seniors who were welcoming new students naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity, because this was a rare opportunity to get rid of being single. Tang Zheng didn't want to join in the fun at first, but he couldn't resist Yi Dingdang and Fang Shishi's persuasion and was dragged to school. Looking at the lively new faces, Tang Zheng couldn't help but think of the time when he first entered the school. At that time, he was just like them, the only difference was that his goal was more clear, or it could be said that he was more free and easy. One on the left and one on the right, two beauties accompanied each other, occasionally accompanied by some intimate actions. Without a doubt, this scene immediately attracted the attention of many people. Especially the freshmen, all of them looked at him as if he was a monster. Whether it was Fang Shishi or Yi Dingdang, they were undoubtedly top-grade beauties, each with their own merits. As long as one could get the favor of one, then his life wouldn't be in vain, let alone two. The key was that the relationship between the three was too intimate, and it made people's imaginations run wild. "Senior, who is that person, so awesome?" A quick-witted freshman pulled the senior aside and asked, his eyes constantly wandering between Fang Shishi and Yi Dingdang. He was indignant and wanted to poach them. The senior rolled his eyes and looked at the junior like he was looking at an idiot. He patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't say that I didn't take care of you. The first thing you should do after entering school is not to know who the principal is, but to know the person in front of you." The junior disagreed, "Senior, you're exaggerating. Who is he, so awesome? You just have to remember that he's called Tang Zheng. Stay as far away from him as you can, and don't provoke him." The senior warned earnestly. Tang Zheng's fame in school was unmatched, and he was simply a living legend. The junior stared at Tang Zheng for a while, but he couldn't see anything different. He thought to himself, "Senior isn't lying to me, right? Or maybe Senior is interested in these two beauties, so he deliberately wants me to back off, so that there will be one less strong competitor like me." Just as this junior was daydreaming, a black Mercedes-Benz and a white luxury limousine drove over at lightning speed. A few students who were dragging their suitcases screamed in fright and were almost hit by the limousine. They were battered and exhausted. But a thin boy didn't dodge in time and was hit by the RV and fell to the ground. Too hateful, driving so fast in school. They don't care about other people's lives at all. It's simply murder. Someone was filled with righteous indignation. Bang 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 bang. The sound of the door opening and closing rang out. 4 strong men in black suits got out of the Mercedes-Benz and looked like bodyguards. They quickly moved to the door of the RV and respectfully opened the door. Ding ding ding. The crisp sound of high heels hitting the ground rang out, and a tall beauty walked out. Immediately, everyone was attracted by this beauty, and the angry voices came to an abrupt stop. Wow, beauty! Who is this? Why does she look like a man-made beauty? Hey, you don't say, the more I look at her, the more she looks like our neighbor from Korea. She's definitely a man-made beauty. Look at her nose, it's definitely been done. She even had double eyelids and a sharp chin. Although I can't see her chest through her clothes, it's most likely fake. Brother, you have sharp eyes, you're an expert. My family runs a plastic surgery hospital, I can tell at a glance. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, everyone was guessing who this man-made beauty was, and why her entrance was so flashy. The beauty ignored the boy who fell to the ground as if he didn't exist. She turned to the RV and said a few words. A light cough came from the RV, and then another person walked out. This person had a greasy hair and a powdery face. His body was thin like a bamboo pole. He wore earrings and dyed yellow hair. He had an unruly and frivolous appearance. He raised his head high and looked diagonally upwards. Wow, it's Park Si-hoon, Appa. A few women screamed in the crowd, and then they rushed toward the man as if they were possessed. But without exception, they were all stopped by the 4 bodyguards. They couldn't get close to the man. Park Si-hoon casually waved his hand, causing the women to scream crazily. Their screams were as loud as a loudspeaker, causing many people to frown. The discussion in the crowd grew louder. He's indeed a Korean. Park Si-hoon, an actor, is very popular now, and is known as the national idol of Korea. TSK, a idol like him? He's more like a bamboo pole. I don't know what's wrong with these women's taste, to fall for this kind of man. Someone snorted. When the women heard this, their faces changed. They became very ferocious and crazy, as if their ancestors' graves were dug up. They pointed at the boy and shouted at the top of their lungs, "What do you know? How can you compare with our Appa? You're just a pile of cow dung, and our Appa is the star in the sky. You don't have the right to talk about him." The boy was shocked, as if he didn't expect that his words would cause such a big reaction. His face turned red, and he didn't know what to do. It was as if the women had met the enemy who had killed their fathers. One after another, they began to crusade against him, talking non-stop. Ouch, my leg hurts. A weak groan resounded. The boy who was hit by the car had a pale face as he touched his leg in pain. You guys hit me. Don't go. My leg hurts, and it seems to be broken. Park Si-hoon and the rest acted as if they didn't see him and turned a deaf ear to him. They were about to leave, and they didn't want to care about the boy on the ground. Is there still law? You guys are too much, not caring about me after hitting me. The boy was in pain and grievance. His face was red with tears flickering in his eyes. He struggled for a while and grabbed onto Park Si-hoon's pants. Park Si-hoon had no choice but to stop and look down at the boy. He curled his lips in disdain and said in stiff Hwa-sia language, "Let go." No, you guys are too much, leaving after hitting me. The boy said in grievance. A trace of coldness flashed in Park Si-hoon's eyes as he kicked the boy's chest. Feeling the pain, the boy immediately let go of his hand and held onto his chest as he curled into a ball in pain. Wow, Appa is so handsome. Appa is a 9th degree black belt in Taekwondo. How can this guy be his opponent? He's overestimating himself. I think this guy is trying to scam our Appa. Yeah, there are too many scammers nowadays. He actually dared to scam our Appa. I can't wait to give him a good beating. Chapter 1028. The girls chattered incessantly, using obscenities and distorting the facts to accuse the boys. They looked especially pitiful as they curled up together. Park Shi-hoon raised his head proudly with a smug smirk on his face. He strode away under the protection of his bodyguards. The girls' attention was immediately attracted by him and they screamed. "Appa, I love you. Appa, you're so handsome. Stop right there." Suddenly, a loud and resounding shout rang out, and a person blocked their path. They had no choice but to stop. Park Shi-hoon frowned and asked, "What are you doing?" Tang Jing stared at them coldly. To be honest, he had not been so angry for a long time. He was not even this angry when he faced the Lord of Glory or the Hundred Faces Star-Lord. His anger did not only come from these people's disregard for others, but also from those girls. They were Hwaxia people, but they did not care about the safety of their fellow countrymen for the sake of a few Koreans. They even used foul language and slandered and hurt their fellow countrymen. This kind of contempt for his fellow countrymen pierced Tang Zheng's heart. He still loved this country deeply. He despised and was angry at such behavior, so he had no choice but to stand up for them. The girls were freshmen and did not know Tang Zheng at all. They were enraged when they saw him. Before Park Shi-hoon could say anything, they rushed over impatiently and shouted, "Who are you? Since when do you have the right to tell us what to do?" Tang Zheng looked at them pitifully. Yes, these girls were pitiful. They had lost their roots and souls as Hwaxia people. They were empty shells without souls. However, a pitiful person must have something to hate, so he did not sympathize with them. "Are you guys still Hwaxia people?" Tang Zheng asked. The girls were stunned and shouted, "Of course I'm Hwaxia." "Then what are you doing?" "A Korean ran into one of our fellow countrymen, but you're helping the tyrant and denouncing your fellow countrymen. Are you guys blind? Is your heart crooked?" Tang Zheng's voice was as loud as a great bell, so loud that even the deaf could hear. When the girls heard this, they trembled and froze on the spot. But after a while, they came back to their senses as if they had been greatly humiliated. They said, "Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to educate us? In front of our appa, you are just a pile of cow dung." The sneer on Park Shi-hoon's lips deepened as he crossed his arms and looked at this scene with interest. He started to chat with the woman beside him in Gaoli as if there was no one else around. The woman also looked at Tang Zheng and the girls mockingly, covering her mouth and sneering. Tang Zheng didn't understand what they were saying, but he guessed that it wasn't anything good. He coldly swept his gaze over the two. The two actually raised their heads arrogantly and looked at Tang Zheng provocatively. Fang Shishir walked over and said, "Tang Zheng, they're saying nasty things." Fang Shishir was a straight-A student since she was young, so she knew a thing or two about Korean. Thus, she could understand the conversation between the two. Sure enough, Tang Zheng said before he asked, "What did they say?" They said that Hwaxia is indeed a lowly race that only knows how to fight amongst themselves, and that they can't even compare to a 10,000th of the Korean race. Fang Shishir said indignantly. She rarely got angry, but when she heard those words, she was so angry that her voice started to tremble. Those words were like a fuse that ignited the suppressed anger in the crowd. They all roared, Koreans, how dare you come to our country and scold us? Get out of our country." A trace of panic flashed through Park Shi-hoon's eyes, but he quickly calmed down and regained his arrogance. The woman beside him immediately put on a straight face and said in fluent Hwaxia language, "That's slander. We didn't say those words. Move aside, we still have to report." Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir did not move. A trace of viciousness flashed through the woman's eyes as she shouted in Korean. The bodyguards immediately moved and tried to grab Tang Zheng. Fang Shishir couldn't help but make the first move. Her fair hand grabbed onto the bodyguard's wrist and pushed, causing the bodyguard's arm to bounce back. Bang! The bodyguard's hand hit his chest and he was sent flying back like a cannonball, knocking into the bodyguards behind him and causing them to fall to the ground together in a sorry state. "Ah!" The crowd immediately cried out in alarm. No one had expected that the seemingly weak and powerless Fang Shishir would actually have such great strength. Yi Dingdang, who who was already filled with righteous indignation, also made a move. However, she didn't aim at the bodyguards, but at the boy on the ground. The girls blocked her way. Yi Dingdang shouted, "Are you worthy of being Huaxia people?" Slap, 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 the girls were slapped in the face. They spun around like spinning tops before falling to the ground. The boy was humiliated. Suddenly, he saw a vigorous and valiant beauty rushing over. For a moment, he seemed to have forgotten the pain. There was only this figure left in his eyes. Even many years later, this figure would often reverberate in his mind. "How are you?" Yi Dingdang helped the boy up and saw that his ankle was swollen. The boy was dumbfounded. He looked at Yi Dingdang with a red face and was speechless. "Is it very painful?" Hiss. The boy finally woke up from his dream. He sucked in a breath of cold air and heavily nodded. "Don't worry. With us here, this group of bullies won't be able to escape," Yi Dingdang resolutely said. The boy hesitantly nodded. "Tang Zheng, how is his injury?" Yi Dingdang shouted. Tang Zheng walked over. This time, no one stopped him. He bent down to check the injury. He frowned and said, "It's dislocated. Bear with it for a while. I'll set your bone right now. It'll be fine in a moment." Oh. The boy was a bit confused and didn't know what to do. Just at this time, he suddenly felt a piercing pain. He wanted to scream, but he found that a warm feeling wrapped around the injury and the pain immediately disappeared. "Why don't you try it now?" The boy seemed to wake up from a dream as he blankly looked at his leg. The place that was swollen just now had actually recovered. He was incredulous as he couldn't believe his eyes. He stammered, "What's going on?" As he spoke, he moved his legs and tried to walk 2 steps with Yi Dingdang's help. "It doesn't hurt anymore." The boy cheered. He turned his head to look at Yi Dingdang but found that she was still holding his shoulder. Immediately, his cheeks flushed red and his eyes became flustered. He didn't know what to do. When the other boys saw this scene, they all cried out in their hearts. "Brat, why are you so lucky? Let me do it. I'll suffer a little and get to enjoy this treatment." Yi Dingdang casually let go of her hand and said, "It's good that you can walk." When she finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards Park Shihun and coldly said, "We should deal with him now." Fang Shishir blocked the path of the Koreans, but they did not force their way in. Park Shihun looked at Fang Shishir with interest. Her clean move just now was an eye-opener for him. His heart was moved. This girl was both beautiful and skilled. Wasn't she my type? Thus, he revealed a smile that once charmed thousands of fans and said to Fang Shishir, "Beauty, my name is Park Shihun. Can we be friends?" Fang Shishir looked at him with disgust and said, "A person like you is not fit to be my friend." "Great!" The crowd immediately cheered. "Beauty, well done. A heroine among women, a heroine." That woman finally couldn't hold it in and reprimanded, "Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to our Park Shihun with such an ugly face? He's our national idol. TSK, are you blind? She's 100 times prettier than you." "Right, a man-made beauty who has undergone plastic surgery. She still doesn't know how troubled she is and dares to come out and make a fool of herself. Meiji, don't lower yourself to their level." Park Shihun said arrogantly. "Right, how can I, Jean Meiji, lower myself to their level? Wouldn't that lower my own level? Shihun, let's go and report first. Don't let these people delay our work." Jean Meiji urged. "I'll remember you," Park Shihun said to Fang Shishir. "Stop. Are you guys deaf?" Tang Zheng stood in front of them and asked with an unfriendly expression. Park Shihun was amiable towards Fang Shishir but not towards Tang Zheng. He waved his hand in disgust and said, "Get out of the way." The other 2 bodyguards' fists simultaneously struck towards Tang Zheng's chest. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with an ominous glint as he struck out with lightning speed. Kacha, the two bodyguards' arms were immediately broken, revealing eerie white bones. Screams immediately burst out from their lungs and throat and soared into the sky. When the others saw this, their hearts trembled, but they felt relieved. These people from different races dared to behave atrociously. This was what they deserved. Among them, those who had seen Tang Jing deal with the island nation's students had their eyes lit up. They knew that there was a good show to watch. This group of Koreans didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They actually dared to provoke Tang Jing. This time, they really couldn't bear the consequences. Seeing that the Gaoli people were unlucky, they all felt proud and elated. In an instant, they had a backbone and looked at Tang Jing with burning eyes. Park Shi-hoon looked at Tang Jing in astonishment. He couldn't see through Tang Jing's strength, so he was surprised by his skills. However, he thought highly of himself and didn't put Tang Jing in his eyes. He looked at him with contempt and said, "I recently learned a new idiom from your Huaxia, bring shame upon yourself." You're bringing shame upon yourself right now. How can a foreigner like you understand the profound Huaxia language? How dare you use this idiom so shamelessly? Since you brought it up, then I'll let you understand the essence of this idiom. Tang Jing approached the other party step by step. Shi-hoon, teach him a lesson. Let him know how powerful you are. Jin Meiji instigated. Park Shi-hoon sneered and walked over. He stretched his body and said, "You asked for it." Before he finished speaking, he sent a kick towards Tang Jing. Clearly, he wanted to gain the initiative by striking first. As expected of a 9th-degree black belt. Tang Jing also sent out a kick as fast as lightning. Pa! Chapter 1029. A heart-wrenching scream filled the air as Park Shi-hoon's face made contact with the ground. 2 streams of blood spurted out from his nostrils, making him look battered and exhausted. Good. It was unknown who cheered, but immediately, cheers and shouts of praise rose and fell one after another. Clearly, Park Shi-hoon's actions earlier had aroused public anger. The few girls who were clamoring earlier no longer dared to shout. Instead, they glared at the crowd with eyes that seemed to be spitting fire. It was as if they were enemies who killed their fathers. Tang Jing's impassioned speech did not touch their hearts in the slightest. They continued to do as they pleased. Jin Meiji stared blankly at the scene. This had never happened before. In the past, when they came to Huaxia, they were always welcomed with open arms. Initially, they were at a loss for what to do, but later, they got used to it. No matter what they did, the Huaxia people would still treat them like gods. They were even more important than their ancestors and parents. In the beginning, they were very careful as they were afraid of offending the huge Huaxia market. However, they later realized that their worries were unnecessary. No matter what mistakes they made, they were still unique and cool in the eyes of the fans. If anyone dared to make irresponsible remarks, the fans would gang up on them without them needing to say anything. Their vulgar words were unbearable to the ears, causing them to avoid them as if they were rabid dogs. After enjoying this kind of treatment a few times, they felt that the Huaxia market was too good. It was tailor-made for them. It was even better than Korea. That was why they were so arrogant and bossy. This was something they did not dare to do in China, but they could do it openly in Huaxia. However, everything was overturned today. Someone actually hit Park Shi-hoon in front of everyone. Wasn't this overturning the heavens? What was Park Shi-hoon doing at Yenching University? This was the right to study abroad exchange that he had fought for. In order to expand the Huaxia market, artists had no choice but to learn the Huaxia culture. Especially learning a few sentences of Huaxia language was very necessary. If they spoke a few sentences of stiff Huaxia language during a concert or program, it would win waves of screams from the fans, as if it was a climax. But to be beaten up before he even entered the school was simply too vile. Jin Meiji was not afraid, only angry. She rushed toward Tang Jing without any scruples, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws as if she was crazy. She was Park Si-hoon's manager. In fact, she used to be a Hwaseong citizen as well. After she migrated to Korea, she considered herself to be a Korean. She even hated it when people said that she used to be a Hwaseong citizen. You still dare to act crazy? There's no need for Tang Zheng to deal with a woman. Watch how I, Ding Dang, teach you how to be a woman today. Yi Ding Dang shouted and stopped Jean Meiji, giving her a slap. She spun around and before she could regain her balance, Yi Ding Dang gave her another slap, causing her to spin around again. She was dumbfounded. Didn't women fight by grabbing hair and tearing clothes? Why didn't she play by the rules? It wasn't that Jean Meiji had not fought with women before, but she had never encountered such a situation. She stood there dumbfounded, with her cheeks turning red like a monkey's butt. Yi Ding Dang pursed her lips. You dare to make a scene in Hwaseong and Yenching University with such little ability? Do you really think that the entire universe is Korea's backyard? Wah! Jean Meiji's tears flowed out of her eyes as she began to wail like a child. She pointed at Yi Ding Dang and roared while choking with sobs, "You guys are dead. I will sue you. Just wait and go to jail." Tang Zheng looked at her mockingly and said, "Jail? What a joke. Is the law set by your family? This is not the last century, where foreigners are superior. Especially a small country like Korea, which has never been treated this way. You." Jean Meiji was speechless. Park Shi-hoon finally woke up from the pain and looked at his deformed leg. His eyes were bloodshot and he roared, "My leg is broken. You have to go to jail. Hurry up and inform the embassy to arrest them." Hearing this, the crowd pointed and discussed animatedly. How shameless. You can't win and you want to inform the embassy? Where's the arrogance you had when you bumped into people just now? That's right. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. How dare you bully our fellow countrymen? We can't compromise. Down with the Korean Bangsi. Get out of Hwaseong, Korean Bangsi. The crowd was stirred up. These people had endured for too long. They had seen too much of the ugliness and arrogance of this group of so-called stars. They had long been dissatisfied with them. They just lacked a fuse. As for those brainless fans, after all, they were only a minority among the more than 1 billion people in the vast Hwaseong. Most people in Hwaseong had a tolerant heart and chose to tolerate their usual behavior. However, the anger and dissatisfaction in their hearts had accumulated to a critical point. Most people had a healthy personality and moral values. They angrily rebuked Park Shi-hoon and his group for their immoral behavior. Especially when many people dug up his past misdeeds, the students who did not know the cause and effect and did not pay attention to them were filled with righteous indignation. Back then, when they faced the Japanese of the island nation, they had never been so aggrieved. Each and every one of the iron-blooded men went to the battlefield to kill the enemy and fought bravely for the motherland. Now that the country was flourishing, they had become an inferior nation. No matter who it was, any foreigner dared to commit crimes in Hwaseong without being punished. Catch him and send him back to his country. This kind of person does not deserve to stay in our motherland. Yes, catch him and send him out. Looking at the agitated faces, Park Shi-hoon raised his head as if he was humiliated. He shouted, "I'm an international student invited by Yenching University. What right do you have to send me away? International student of Yenching University." The crowd was stunned for a moment before they burst out in even louder voices. Yenching University does not need a student like you. That's an insult to our century-old university. Get out of our university. Otherwise, I won't be able to say that I'm from Yenching University. Yes, get out of our university. Yenching University does not need a student like you. Park Shi-hoon was stunned. He did not expect that not only did his argument not make them stop, it made them even angrier. What was going on? Why was it so different from what he had seen before? At this moment, a group of security guards walked over from the crowd. The leader was a middle-aged man. "What are you doing?" the man asked with a solemn face. Jean Meiji acted as if she had seen her savior. Ignoring the pain on her face, she grabbed the man's hand and said excitedly, "Vice Principal Pang, you came at the right time. Today, our Shihun Appa came to report to school, but we encountered this group of lawless and arrogant people. Look at how badly we were beaten up. Even Appa's leg was broken. Hurry up and catch them and throw them in jail." Vice Principal Pang was shocked. His face was as dark as the sky before a storm. He looked around and asked sternly, "Who is so cruel to do this to an international friend?" No one answered him. Instead, they looked at him with ridicule. Some people began to whisper among themselves. "Who is this person? That woman called him vice principal. I don't think there's such a person in our university. You're ignorant. I'm in the student union. I've heard that there will be a vice principal this semester. I heard that he's a returnee from overseas. Then this is bad. A new official sweeps clean, won't Tang Jing be punished?" Vice Principal Pang was pleased with himself when he heard the discussions. He had just been appointed, and he had indeed made drastic changes. If he didn't punish the chicken to warn the monkey, who would be afraid of him in the future? Vice Principal Pang studied abroad in Korea for many years. Later on, he became a teacher in a high school in Korea and rapidly rose to the position of vice principal. Initially, he had never thought of returning to China. But now that he saw Huaxia rising up, he was tempted. After all, a small country like Korea was not as good as China, and his development potential was limited. Therefore, through various connections and various operations, he finally managed to get the position of vice principal of Yenjing University after a lot of effort. He was the one who invited Park Si-hoon. As his first action, he hoped to use Park Si-hoon's influence to attract more young people to apply to Yenching University. He wanted to use this opportunity to expand his influence in Yenching University. He was delayed by some matters today, so he was a little late to welcome Park Si-hoon. He never expected that something like this would happen. Naturally, he was shocked and furious. How dare someone hit someone he invited? Wasn't this a slap to his face? How could he tolerate this? He had to punish the chicken to warn the monkey. Wasn't this just a chicken? Who hit him? Come out! Vice Principal Pang roared with his hands on his waist and his belly bulging. I hit him. Tang Zheng took a step forward and said indifferently. He didn't take a new principal to heart. Moreover, everything was about reason. These Koreans were clearly in the wrong, so why should he be afraid of them? Vice Principal Pang was arrogant as he coldly looked at Tang Zheng and said, You don't have the slightest bit of remorse for hitting someone, and you're still so arrogant. Which class are you from? I'm a second-year student of Yenching University's Archaeology Department, Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng replied without batting an eyelid. Archaeology Department, second year? Humph, how arrogant. How did Yenching University produce a student like you? Do you know what kind of behavior this is? I just beat up a few self-righteous Koreans who dare to not treat Chinese people as people on Chinese soil. Since the other party was not prepared to speak properly, Tang Zheng did not hesitate to retaliate. Audacious. You're slandering an international friend and tarnishing the country's image. Can you bear this responsibility? Vice Principal Pang had seen his fair share of storms and did not place Tang Zheng in his eyes at all. Even though the other was indifferent, in his heart, as long as he flipped out and put a big hat on the other, he would teach the other a lesson. Then, the other would definitely be uneasy and kneel down to beg for mercy. Tang Zheng flung his lips and snorted, You think you're worthy of mentioning the country's image? Chapter 1030. Vice Principal Pang's face turned red as he roared, You're Tang Zheng, right? Not only did you disregard the law, but you also dared to talk back to me. As the vice principal, I can tell you right now that Yenching University doesn't need students like you. Tang Zheng sneered, Is that so? Yes. Yenching University doesn't need students like you who disregard the law, disrespect, and violence. Just you wait to be expelled. Vice Principal Pang's voice became louder and louder. It was even a little shrill. It seemed that this was the only way to show off his power. I also hit someone. Expel me too. Fang Shishir stepped forward and stood beside Tang Zheng. Her face was full of anger. Seeing her beloved being wronged, one could imagine the anger in her heart. I also hit someone. Expel me if you dare. If you don't expel me, you're a coward. Yidingdang's small face was red from anger. She wanted nothing more than to punch Vice Principal Pang in the face. Vice Principal Pang was dazzled by the two beauties who stepped forward. They were too beautiful. If it were any other time, he would definitely hold their hands and teach them. However, Yidingdang's clamor put him in an awkward position. If he didn't expel them, he would be a coward. He didn't want to be called a coward on his first day as a new official. He was about to passionately reprimand them to let them know their mistakes. However, he didn't expect someone to come out of the crowd. The person's body was as tall as a mountain. He shouted angrily, I also hit someone. Expel me too. Tang Zheng turned his head and looked. It was his second brother, Sinosaurus. Sinosaurus and the others were also welcoming the new students. When they heard the commotion, they ran over and happened to see this scene. Blood rushed to his head and he didn't hesitate to stand up for his brother. Vice Principal Pang looked at Sinosaurus in shock. Don't be funny. You clearly squeezed in from the back. How could you be the one who hit someone? Before he could figure out the situation, he saw two people squeezing in. Wang Shiji and Zhou Yan had a tacit understanding and said in unison, I also hit someone, you should fire me too. Vice Principal Pang's face darkened. He finally understood that these people were in cahoots with Tang Zheng. They were here to kick up a fuss and embarrass him. Who was Vice Principal Pang? How could such a scene scare him? Therefore, he said in a deep voice, all right, since you've admitted it, then wait for the school's punishment. Yanqing University doesn't need students like you. As soon as his voice fell, a few more people squeezed in, but they were all beautiful girls. Each of them was like a fearless warrior, standing behind Tang Zheng without hesitation, and said in a loud and resonant voice, I also hit people, you should fire me too. Tang Zheng looked at them gratefully. They were Yidingdang's roommates. The few of them nodded encouragingly at Tang Zheng. His actions today had won their respect and recognition. Vice Principal Pang was at a loss. Just who was this brat? Why did so many people stand out for him? These people must be in cahoots. That's why they're so united. If it was anyone else, they would definitely admit defeat. But I've seen all sorts of storms. You guys are too inexperienced to play such tricks in front of me. Vice Principal Pang snorted in disdain. All right, since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wishes. Vice Principal Pang roared majestically. He felt as if he was an ancient emperor who ruled over the life and death of others. It felt great. The other students looked at each other with red eyes. Even the girls stood out for injustice. Could it be that they, as grown men, were not as brave as the girls? The students clenched their fists. Suddenly, a person took a few steps forward and stood behind Tang Zheng. He said fearlessly, I also hit people, you should fire me too. Vice Principal Pang was stunned. He stared at the fearless fellow with a murderous gaze and said in his heart, I'll fulfill your wishes. But before he could say anything, he saw students one by one walk behind Tang Zheng, loudly shouting, I also hit people, you should also expel me. The crowd was stirred up, and their voices rose and fell one after another. This was the most sincere expression of emotion as a student, an instinctive support, but often many people would scoff at it and disdain it. But seeing hundreds of people working together to support Tang Zheng, one would know who was right and who was wrong, and what was the will of the people. When the new students reported in, there were many parents accompanying them. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel excited. It was as if they had returned to their youthful days. The edges and corners that had been worn away by life over the years seemed to have grown back. With a red face, they said to their children, do you see? This is the spirit of the university. Learn from your seniors. Many of the new students were boiling with passion. They threw down their suitcases and rushed behind Tang Zheng. They shouted, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." When the parents saw their children's actions, they didn't blame them. Instead, they revealed gratified expressions. Most Huaxia people had such genes and blood in their bones. They just needed an opportunity to trigger it. There was no doubt that this accidental incident had become a trigger, arousing their long-hidden hot blood. Vice Principal Pang was dumbfounded. He looked at the scene in disbelief. He never expected the students to be so united. This kind of strength made his heart tremble. He felt a long-lost fear. However, he immediately suppressed this absurd thought. His face darkened, and he thought to himself, fanning the flames, these students can't be allowed to stay. The law doesn't punish the majority of the people. As long as I tell them the pros and cons, these people will naturally know to be afraid. But he couldn't see the people behind him. His voice couldn't be heard. Suddenly, he had an idea. Suddenly, he saw the Mercedes-Benz and quickly climbed up to the roof of the car. Looking down at the crowd, he waved his hand and shouted, "Quiet, everyone, be quiet. Listen to me. I know that most of you are good students. Don't be fooled by a bad student. This is irresponsible to yourself and to your parents. Everyone, disperse, disperse. We were not bewitched by others. We have our own judgment and sense of right and wrong. We are doing this to be responsible for ourselves and our parents." Someone refuted loudly. "That's right. I make my own decisions. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Get lost. Yenqing University doesn't need a leader like you." "That's right. This kind of leader is the shame of Yenqing University. He's helping outsiders to suppress his own students. Shameless." Vice Principal Pang panicked when he heard the complaints. Things seemed to be out of his control. "What right do you have to be so high and mighty? What right do you have to tell us what to do? You're nothing. You don't have the right." The students were even angrier when they saw him looking down at them. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice sounded. "Rise up, people who don't want to be slaves." The voice ignited everyone's emotions. It was as if they had returned to the Huaxia era. Everyone's eyes were red. They looked at Vice Principal Pang as if he was an invader. "Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. We're united. Braving the enemy's gunfire. Advance. 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 Advance." The voice seemed to come from the chest and heart. It was filled with endless power. It made people's blood boil and tears filled their eyes. Every time the last 3 lines of "advance" was sung, all the students took a step forward. The uniform footsteps were like the sound of iron hooves, trampling on Vice Principal Pang's heart, making his heartstrings tremble and his face turn pale. The Korean people were scared out of their wits. The overwhelming momentum and the loud and clear voice made them see the spirit of the Huaxia people. It was the soul of the Huaxia people. Park Shihun didn't have time to care about his pain. He quickly hid in the car and didn't dare to show his face. The arrogance he had just now was gone. What was left was deep shock and fear. The few of them huddled together and looked at each other while trembling. Vice Principal Pang's face turned pale. He didn't expect the students in China to be so powerful. Listening to the deafening voice, he felt as if thousands of knives were falling on his head. He suddenly had an ominous feeling. It seemed that things weren't as simple as he thought. Looking at the high and mighty Vice Principal Pang, the students' emotions once again reached a peak. One of them yelled, "You're standing so high up. Do you think you're so high and mighty? And those Korean people, do you think everything will be fine after they hide in the car? Smash the car and drag them out." Everyone echoed, "Yes, smash their car and drag them out. Let's see how they're going to act all high and mighty." Hundreds of people rushed toward the 2 luxury cars. Bang! Everyone picked up their tools and smashed them on the car. The glass shattered and the car was dented. It looked like the surface of the moon. Vice Principal Pang stood on the roof of the car. He was still in shock. He felt like he was a small boat in the middle of the ocean that could be overturned by the waves at any time. At this time, he didn't have the energy to rebuke. Even the security guards were scared. They kept retreating and didn't dare to stop them. Vice Principal Pang scrambled down from the roof and hid in the security guards' encirclement. He trembled in anger and fear as he watched the scene. "Come out. Are you a coward?" Hiding in the car. Park Shi-hoon and the rest hid in the car. They didn't dare to come out. "If you don't want to come out, then drag them out and smash the car door." Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the car door knocking was like knocking on their hearts. They were scared to the extreme and huddled together. Without a doubt, this would be a nightmare that would follow them for the rest of their lives. "Let me do it." Chapter 1031. Park Shi-hoon and the rest were dragged out of the car. Then, huge fists rained down on them. They only had time to clench their fists and huddle together. They were no longer as arrogant as before. Seeing this, Vice Principal Pang was so scared that he shouted, "Run!" He tried to leave this place under the protection of the security guards. However, the eyes of the crowd were sharp. Immediately, someone shouted, "Don't let him escape." Sinosaurus dashed forward and pushed the security guards away. He grabbed Vice Principal Pang's collar and flung him back. He immediately fell into the sea of people. "Ah!" Screams were heard immediately. *mbr** Tang Zheng did not expect things to turn out this way, but he did not stop them immediately. They asked for it. If they had not angered the crowd, they would not have ended up like this. "Stop hitting them, stop hitting them." The commotion finally attracted the attention of the principal. He brought a group of security guards and stopped them from afar. The students were still in awe of the principal. They stopped after a few more punches. They were rescued from the encirclement in a sorry state. Park Shi-hoon's face was bruised and bruised. He no longer looked like a celebrity. Vice Principal Pang also took a lot of punches. His face was swollen like a pig's. The principal almost could not recognize him. The principal did not question them like the vice principal. Instead, he tried to understand the cause and effect of the incident. He knew that his students were not thugs. There must be a reason for this. After knowing the cause and effect of the incident, the principal glared at Vice Principal Pang fiercely. Then, he comforted the students gently. Finally, he left with the few of them, leaving behind the 2 wrecked cars. The students immediately cheered as if they had won a big battle. Recalling the scene just now, everyone's blood was still boiling. Everyone's gaze towards Tang Zheng became more and more complicated. He was the catalyst for this matter, and if he was not the first to stand out, it would not have stirred up everyone's emotions and caused them to stand out one after another. Everyone gradually realized that unity was strength, and the reactionaries were paper tigers. As long as everyone was united, they could crush them in minutes. Vice Principal Pang walked away, relieved that he had survived. He sucked in a breath of cold air and said fiercely, "Principal, we must arrest that Tang Zheng. He's the instigator. A black sheep like him can't be allowed to stay in the school. Otherwise, he'll be a big disaster for our school. He's a ticking time bomb that can explode at any time." Vice Principal Pang talked non-stop, as if he was going to list Tang Zheng's heinous crimes. He shouted himself hoarse, exaggerating as much as he could. "That's enough." The principal shouted, his face frosty. This incident had caused a huge uproar. Furthermore, it happened during the welcoming ceremony of the new students. With so many parents present, the impact was extremely bad. He had just suppressed the anger in his heart, but that didn't mean that he wasn't angry. This was the first time such a situation had happened in the 100 years since the founding of the school. It was a disgrace to the school. Looking at the pig-headed Vice Principal Pang, he couldn't help but feel regret. He should have resisted the pressure from the higher-ups and rejected this **T stirrer. He hadn't been in office for long, yet he had already caused such a thing. He really didn't know if he was an idiot or not. Seeing that the principal didn't say a word, Vice Principal Pang was angry and resentful. He continued, "Principal, we can't just let this go. I know that your words of comfort just now were just a temporary measure. Let's discuss the next step. We must teach these lawless students a lesson. Those leaders must be caught and punished by law. We must make an example out of them and teach them a good lesson." The principal finally stopped and looked at Vice Principal Pang with an unkind expression. "What do you want?" "Expel Tang Zheng and punish the rest of the black sheep." "Expel? Ha!" The principal laughed mockingly. Vice Principal Pang was confused by this laugh. He asked, "What do you think, Principal? I spent a lot of effort to get Tang Zheng here, and you want to expel him with just a few words? Are you out of your mind?" Then again, the principal was shrewd and naturally wouldn't be so blunt. Thus, he faintly said, "You don't have to worry about this matter. Furthermore, that Park Si-hoon is too lacking. He didn't even ask about it after bumping into someone. His arrogance will affect the reputation of our Yenqing University. Principal, I spent a lot of effort to get him here. He has a huge influence. Furthermore, this matter must be a misunderstanding. He's actually a gentle and humble person." Vice Principal Pang was shocked and immediately tried to defend himself. The principal briefly hesitated before he glanced at Vice Principal Pang. "Don't do it again. If he does something bad again, then our school will not welcome a black sheep like him." "Ah." Vice Principal Pang was dumbfounded. Why was the principal so strict? Wasn't this just throwing his face? But after all, they were the principal and vice principal. Even if it was throwing his face, there was nothing he could say. Thus, he could only grit his teeth and swallow it. Vice Principal Pang resentfully left. Looking at his departing figure, the principal dryly laughed. This overseas returnee really doesn't know anything about the situation in the country. Who is Tang Zheng? Is he someone you can afford to offend? Tang Zheng's emotions calmed down. On the other hand, his friends were in high spirits as they chatted among themselves. They came to a restaurant outside the school in high spirits. "San, we beat up those Koreans and Vice Principal Pang. Will they be fine?" Wang Shiji worriedly asked. Sinosaurus's coarse voice was the first to speak. "Boss, you're worrying for nothing. Who's San? Those Koreans want to go against San. Dream on." Zhou Yan nodded his head in agreement. "You guys don't have to worry. The law can't punish the masses. Furthermore, they were the ones in the wrong, so it's impossible for them to trigger us. Actually, today's battle was really satisfying. Yes, it's 2F** King satisfying. I've long disliked that group of sissies. Men should be more masculine. Now, all the girls in the country like the sissy Xiao Bai's face. It's completely distorted aesthetics." Sinosaurus stretched his arms and displayed a very manly action, feeling indignant. The other girls also nodded in agreement. Men still have to be more manly. Ha, this is a good young woman with good taste. I really didn't make friends with you guys in vain. Sinosaurus laughed loudly. This is a world that looks at faces. Even if you don't like sissies, you're too ugly. A few bad friends immediately attacked. Sinosaurus didn't mind. You guys are just jealous. I already have a girlfriend, so I'm not afraid of you guys attacking me. After saying that, he hugged his girlfriend with a complacent look on his face. OL3, we were shocked when we heard that you weren't going to school anymore. Now that you're back, our dorm mates can be together again. Wang Shiji changed the topic. Tang Zheng gave his roommates a deep look. He had already imparted the cultivation method to them, allowing them to benefit a lot. Even though they were not as fast as Fang Shishir and the others, they still had a small harvest. It was clear that they did not stop cultivating during the summer vacation. OL3 definitely can't bear to part with us, right? Sinosaurus said. Tang Zheng nodded his head and said with a smile, yes, the school is a peaceful harbor. Actually, school life is really not bad. I'll try to stay in school for a while longer. Zhou Yan said, OL, 3 is a busy person. Anyway, when you have nothing to do, just come back and see us brothers. That's for sure. Oh right, have you guys heard? Goddess Tang Linger is coming to Beijing for a concert. Sinosaurus suddenly lowered his voice and winked. Really? Wang Shiji was shocked and full of interest. Tang Linger is too beautiful, and her singing is also very good. Although she hasn't been in the industry for long, she already has a lot of fans. I'm afraid the concert tickets must be very expensive. After saying that, his expression darkened. His family condition was the worst in the dorm, so he usually scrimped and saved. Naturally, he didn't have any money left to watch the concert. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment. Linger's popularity was already so high. Even his roommates had become her fans. Sigh, I asked around earlier. The tickets for Tang Linger's concert are very popular. Many people in our school were the first to buy tickets online, but later on, there were no tickets to buy at all. I heard that they could only buy tickets at a high price. Sinosaurus said with a face of disappointment. Zhou Yan thought for a while and said, I'll think of a way to see if I can get a few tickets, but I don't dare to make any guarantees. We want to see it too. The other girls joined in the fun. There are so many beautiful girls at the concert. We can't let you boys go alone. Otherwise, those girls will be too dangerous. Zhou Yan had a difficult expression on his face. Now that the tickets are so tight, I can't guarantee that I can get so many tickets. OL3, are you going? Sinosaurus asked, speaking of which, you and Tang Linger are both surnamed Tang. 500 years ago, you were even a family. Yi Dingdang and Fang Shishir looked at each other. Yi Dingdang was about to speak, but was stopped by Fang Shishir with her eyes. The relationship between Tang Zheng and Tang Linger was not known to many people, so there was no need to make it public. Yi Dingdang swallowed her words. Tang Zheng coughed dryly and said, I'll think of a way. The others' eyes lit up as they asked, OL3, you have a way? Maybe, I'll do my best. Tang Zheng did not know if there were still tickets for the concert, so he could only call Linger later to ask. Ha, that's great. OL3's methods are wild, so he definitely has a way. The excitement of the few of them was beyond words. OL3, let me tell you, Tang Linger is very beautiful, just like Dingdang and Shishir. They are all great beauties, just different types. Sinosaurus's eyes lit up as he introduced, aren't we great beauties too? The other girls glared at him, scaring Sinosaurus so much that he shrank his neck and quickly tried to salvage the situation. Of course you're beautiful, you're like fairies descending to the mortal world. Humph, these words really go against my heart. The few of them rolled their eyes. After lunch, the few of them immediately threw themselves into the work of welcoming the new students. Tang Zheng attracted the attention of countless people. Many people pointed at him from afar or gave him a thumbs up. Among them, there was no lack of new female students who had witnessed the scene. They frequently cast flirtatious glances at Tang Zheng. Ding Ling Ling. Chapter 1032. It was Du Qifeng who called him. Mr. Du, what's the matter? Hearing Du Qifeng's anxious voice, Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Mr. Tang, I wouldn't have bothered you if it wasn't so urgent, Du Qifeng said in fear and trepidation. Tang Zheng nodded secretly and asked, the king of medicine should have gone to your house. How is your wife? That's why I'm calling. Alas, I can't explain it clearly in a few words. Let the senior king of medicine explain it to you. Du Qifeng sighed and said wearily. Master. The king of medicine's voice came. Tang Zheng had been used to this cheap apprentice's name. He asked, King of medicine, what's the problem? Master, Mrs. Du's condition is very strange. I've controlled her condition after taking medicine, but it flared up again the next day, and then it became more and more serious. The medicine didn't work at all. The king of medicine's voice was a little low. He was very interested in difficult and complicated diseases, and he had conquered many difficult and complicated diseases. However, the situation this time made him a little confused, so he had to call Tang Zheng for help. Oh! Tang Zheng's head sank. If the king of medicine couldn't do anything, then what kind of strange disease did Mrs. Du have? Master, I don't know what to do. Can you come here? The king of medicine found it difficult to speak, and he was a little ashamed. Hearing this, Tang Zheng's curiosity was aroused. He asked, my treatment skills are not as good as yours. If you can't do anything, I may not be able to do anything. Master. Madame Du doesn't seem to be sick. The medicine king stuttered, hesitating to speak. Tang Zheng moved his head and frowned. He asked, if she doesn't seem to be sick, then what is it? I don't know, but it's a little similar to the folklore about being possessed by evil spirits. I'm not sure. After all, there's no scientific basis for this kind of thing, and I've never seen it before. The king of medicine's voice also lowered, as if he was not confident in his judgment. Tang Zheng was a cultivator. He knew very well that not everything in the world could be explained by current scientific knowledge. Being possessed by evil spirits was not something that was fabricated out of thin air. The phone was transferred to Du Qifeng again. Du Qifeng anxiously begged, young Master Tang, I know this is too much, but for the sake of my wife's life, I really beg you. You are my last hope. Tang Zheng had thought that the king of medicine would be able to cure him, but now it seemed that he was too optimistic. Moreover, Du Qifeng had helped him before, so he couldn't stay out of this matter no matter what. Now that school had just started, there was not much to do, so he could take the opportunity to go to Du Qifeng's house. Okay, send me the detailed address. I'll be there today. Du Qifeng was overjoyed and said gratefully, thank you, young Master Tang. Thank you so much. I'll book a plane ticket for you right away. You don't have to book a plane ticket. I have a way to get there. Tang Zheng declined Du Qifeng's kindness. Since he could fly freely on his sword, he realized more and more the convenience of flying on his sword. It was faster than taking a plane, and he didn't have to wait for a plane. He could stop and go as he pleased. Du Qifeng didn't get to the bottom of it and quickly told him the address. His house was in Shanghai, which was not too far from Beijing. It would take nearly 2 hours by plane. Tang Zheng estimated that he could get there in more than an hour. He didn't leave in a hurry, but dialed Ling Er's phone first. The girl was very excited when she received the call from Tang Zheng. She jumped up and said, Master, you finally called Ling Er. Ling Er, are you tired from the concert rehearsals? Tang Zheng asked with concern. I'm tired, but after receiving Master's call, Ling Er is not tired at all. I'm full of energy again, hee hee. Ling said excitedly. If you're tired, then rest. Don't tire yourself out, okay? Yes, Ling knows. Ling do you still have tickets for your concert? Tickets? I don't know. I'll ask. After saying that, her voice came from the phone, Sister Aimi, do you still have tickets for my concert? My lady, the tickets for your concert are selling like hot cakes. The tickets online have long been sold out. Aimi said happily. Ling Er's mouth flattened and said, is there no other way? Do you have a friend who needs tickets? Master does. Aimi quivered and quickly said, yes, of course. What a joke. If her boss doesn't have tickets, then she doesn't need to work anymore. Ling beamed with joy, thank you, Sister Aimi Master, I still have tickets. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised as he gave a knowing smile and said, I heard it. Just remember to leave me a few. When the time comes, I will go to your concert. Really? Ling was surprised and happy, Master, don't worry. Ling will practice harder. I won't disappoint Master. Tang Zheng said a few more words of concern and hung up the phone. He said goodbye to his family and went to the suburbs. He flew to Shanghai on his sword. After passing through the thick clouds, Shanghai was right below him. He landed in the suburbs. He took a taxi and went straight to Du Qifeng's house. This was a seaside villa area. The scenery was very charming. When Du Qifeng received Tang Zheng's call, he was very surprised because it had only been an hour since he called. Even a plane wouldn't be that fast. Could it be that Tang Zheng was already here? When he saw Tang Zheng standing in front of him alive, he couldn't help but feel deeply shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes and asked, "Young Master Tang, how did you get here so quickly?" Tang Zheng didn't answer and asked, "Where is the patient?" Du Qifeng woke up from his dream and felt a little more confident. Tang Zheng's methods were more powerful than he thought. Then wouldn't his wife have a greater chance of being saved? "Young Master Tang, please come with me." Du Qifeng led Tang Zheng into the villa area and to his house. The king of medicine was already waiting at the door. He greeted him from a distance, grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, shook it a few times excitedly, and said, "Master, you're finally here. It's good that you're here." Looking at the king of medicine's excited look and the two words, "Master," that came out of his mouth, Du Qifeng thought that he was dreaming. Although he was mentally prepared when he called before, he still couldn't hide the shock in his heart when he saw this scene with his own eyes. This was mainly because the king of medicine's position in the apricot forest was too high. No one could surpass him. Now seeing him call Tang Zheng, "Master," sincerely, no matter who it was, they would have the same feeling in their hearts. "Thank you for your hard work." Tang Zheng nodded to the king of medicine. He personally contacted the king of medicine some time ago and told him about Du Qifeng. That was why he came to Shanghai. Otherwise, with Du Qifeng's reputation, he couldn't even see the king of medicine. "It's not hard, it's not hard." The king of medicine quickly shook his head and said bitterly, "I'm ashamed. I originally thought that the medicine would cure the disease, but I didn't expect it to be so different from what I imagined. Until now, I still haven't determined what disease she has." This was a situation he had never encountered before. Naturally, he was very distressed. "Let's go see the patient first." Tang Zheng recalled that Qin Baishan's wife had been possessed by the evil spirit in the Millennium Blood Jade, so he wasn't too worried. "Young Master Tang, king of medicine, please come in." Du Qifeng came to his senses and quickly opened the door. He respectfully invited them in and went straight to his wife's room. After pushing the door and entering, Tang Zheng saw a person standing in front of the window sill. When she heard the sound, she turned her head. It was the face of a middle-aged woman. She was well-maintained and full of charm. She glanced at Tang Zheng lightly and said to Du Qifeng, "Qifeng, who is this?" Tang Zheng frowned. This person looked no different from a normal person. She didn't seem to be possessed. "Let me introduce you. This is young Master Tang, and this is my wife." Du Qifeng quickly introduced them. Tang Zheng nodded slightly. "Mrs. Du, nice to meet you." Madame Du responded politely. Tang Zheng glanced at Mrs. Du suspiciously, but still couldn't find any clues. He couldn't help but look at Du Qifeng and the king of medicine. "Mrs. Du, you should rest first." Du Qifeng closed the door and whispered to Tang Zheng, "Young Master Tang, when she's not ill, she's no different from a normal person. Once she's ill." His face became a little pale and he glanced at the king of medicine. "Senior king of medicine has seen it. It's really strange. What kind of evil technique is this?" Du Qifeng thought for a while and organized his words. "It's as if she's a different person. It's a strange feeling. I've lived with her for decades, so I know it very well. I've never had that strange feeling, except when she's ill." The king of medicine also nodded. "I thought it was a split personality, but later it was confirmed that it wasn't. That's why I suspect that she's possessed." Du Qifeng's face was pale and he asked, "Young Master Tang, is there any way?" Tang Zheng didn't express his opinion, but asked, "When will she be ill?" "At night." Tang Zheng looked out of the window. It was still a few hours away from night. It seemed that they had to wait. Can I check now? Yes, thank you so much, young Master Tang. Du Qifeng said excitedly. They entered the room again. Mrs. Du was still standing quietly in front of the window, overlooking the blue sea in the distance. Mrs. Du, please sit down. Let me feel your pulse. Tang Zheng said. Mrs. Du turned around and said calmly, sorry to trouble you. Tang Zheng deeply looked at her, 2 fingers pressed down on her wrist. Her pulse was very strong, but Tang Zheng knew very little about the pulse, so he could not determine if there was a problem, so he urged his true qi, and a trace of true qi flowed from her wrist, along her meridians, into her body. Now Tang Zheng's control of genuine qi had reached the peak, so he didn't have to worry that the genuine qi would hurt the patient as before. Even the patient herself wouldn't notice anything strange with the trace of genuine qi. This was a big advantage of his increasingly excellent skills. Seeing him feel her pulse, Du Qifeng's heart was in his throat. He didn't know what the result would be. Chapter 1033. Tang Zheng let go of his hand, his eyebrows tightly knitted together. Mrs. Du looked at him with a bitter smile and said, Young Master Tang, is there any cure for my illness? Tang Zheng stared at her and shook his head slightly, it's too early to say. He found that the vitality in her body was very weak, but he couldn't find the root of the illness. A touch of disappointment flashed in Du Qifeng's eyes, Young Master Tang, please go to rest first. We'll try again in the evening. They left the room. Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine went back to the room. The King of Medicine asked curiously, Master, did you find anything? Tang Zheng shook his head. The King of Medicine's face became strange. Even Tang Zheng didn't find anything. This illness was really strange. Night fell. They had dinner and waited for the moment when Mrs. Du had an attack. Tang Zheng sat opposite her and didn't miss any chance to observe. The moonlight shone on the bed and fell on Mrs. Du's body. Suddenly, a strange scene happened. A touch of darkness flashed in Mrs. Du's eyes. Her breath suddenly changed and became very cold and horrible. Her face was ferocious. Well, her illness seems to have changed. The King of Medicine exclaimed. Why do you say that? She used to tremble all over when she had an attack, as if she had epilepsy. But this time she seemed very calm. Except for the change in her complexion and breath, there were no other symptoms. The King of Medicine said, puzzled. Tang Zheng shook his head, I'm afraid this is a sign that her illness is getting worse. Mrs. Du, let me feel your pulse again. Whoosh. Seeing Tang Zheng's hand reaching out, Mrs. Du suddenly stepped back and dodged. Her reaction was so fast that even Tang Zheng didn't expect it. It didn't match her weak appearance at all. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a bright light as he stared at her. Du Qifeng hurried to persuade her, Mrs. Du, let young Master Tang feel your pulse and treat you. Bang! Once he finished his words, Du Qifeng was pushed away by Madame Du's palm. Du Qifeng's tall and sturdy body flew out like a piece of paper and heavily hit against the wall. Madam, you. Du Qifeng clutched his chest and gasped for breath, looking at his madam in disbelief. Madame Du's eyes flashed with a cold light as she coldly glanced at Du Qifeng. Then, she stared at Tang Zheng with an unkind expression. Her voice changed quite a bit as it became the voice of another woman. It was very sharp and gave people a feeling of fear. Who are you? Tang Zheng stared at her and asked, Who are you? You don't have the right to ask for my name. Madame Du said arrogantly. Du Qifeng and the King of Medicine were dumbfounded when they heard the conversation between the two. It was as if they were two completely different people. Madam, what's wrong with you? Du Qifeng turned pale with fright. Ignoring the pain, he threw himself at Madame Du. Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him and advised, Mr. Du, calm down. Let me deal with her. The King of Medicine was dumbfounded and said resentfully, possessed. She really is possessed. It is her good fortune that I am possessing her body. What do you ignorant people know? Madame Du was proud of herself and her entire body was exuding evil energy. Let me catch you first. Tang Zheng reached out his big hand and rushed to her. Madame Du flew back, tiptoed on the wall, flipped in the air, and threw herself at Tang Zheng. Bang, bang, bang. In a flash, the two exchanged several moves. However, Tang Zheng's fighting ability was much stronger. Madame Du had a strong momentum at first, but in the blink of an eye, she could only retreat. Bang! Tang Zheng put one hand on her shoulder and immediately restrained her. She tried to resist and screamed. Tang Zheng was unmoved. He activated his true qi and immediately sent it into her body. A cold and ruthless aura instantly came back from his true qi. His eyes lit up. He thought, I finally found you. It turned out that there was a soul hidden in Madame Du's body. It was very hidden during the day, and even Tang Zheng couldn't find it. But at night, when the yin qi was strong, she would show up. Tang Zheng had seen Tian Chanzi do the possession and rebirth with his own eyes. However, he possessed a dead body, while this guy in front of him came for a living person. There was a world of difference between the two actions. This kind of forceful possession of another person's body was very bad. Tang Zheng couldn't do anything about it. Moreover, there were so few cultivators today. It was rare to find someone who had the ability to possess and rebirth. This was because, according to the heaven monk, one had to be above the nascent soul stage in order to be able to possess a body and be reborn. Furthermore, there were very few people above the nascent soul stage in this world, so who was this person? He had to find out. Who are you? How dare you be so rude to me? Madame Du screamed at the top of her voice. She stared at Tang Zheng angrily, as if she wanted to eat him alive. Tang Zheng wasn't afraid at all. He activated his genuine qi and immediately found the culprit in Madame Du's brain. This soul was hidden in the depth of her brain. It was a cloud of black gas. He could vaguely see a ferocious face hidden in the black gas. The ferocious face was opening its mouth and roaring. It seemed that it wanted to scare Tang Zheng away. Who are you? Tang Zheng asked. You are not qualified to know my name. Really? Then I'll destroy your soul. Tang Zheng used his genuine qi to stab the cloud of black gas like a sword. The other party immediately shrank back, but it didn't help. Her voice became more and more shrill, as if she was suffering endless pain. Seeing this scene, Du Qifeng's heart trembled. He wanted to persuade her, but was stopped by the king of medicine in time. Director Du, if you want to save your wife, don't disturb my master. Du Qifeng was resentful, he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, spinning around in circles. I'll talk. Mrs. Du seemed to be unable to endure the torture and finally compromised. I escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Prehistoric heavenly tomb? Tang Zheng was shocked. What does this have to do with the prehistoric heavenly tomb? After the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb were completely broken, many of the creatures or magic treasure that were imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb took the opportunity to leave that damned place and regain their freedom. What? Tang Zheng was shocked. He was actually one of the people who knew about this matter. Back then, in order to regain his freedom, the 100 Transformations Star Lord had broken through the restrictions of the Buzhou Mountain, which was equivalent to breaking through all the restrictions of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. That was why the Thundercloud Beast was able to leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb as it pleased. However, the side effect was that without the restrictions, any living being could leave the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Back then, he, Tian Chanzi and the others had personally seen tens of thousands of rays of light soaring into the sky. Tian Chanzi had once said that those rays of light were countless magic treasure S or Yin generals. In any case, they were living beings imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. The people buried in the prehistoric heavenly tomb were all experts from the ancient era. Due to that restriction, the souls of these people did not enter the cycle of reincarnation, but were instead imprisoned in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. After tens of thousands of years, these souls interacted with the Yin Qi, and in the end, many of them became Yin generals. They lost their nature and became bloodthirsty people. Back then, Tang Zheng had met this kind of Yin general. Other than that, there were also magic treasures. The mountain-shattering meteor hammer that Sinosaurus had coincidentally obtained was one of them. It was just that, Tang Zheng did not pay too much attention to this matter in the past, and had almost forgotten about it. This was because, other than Sinosaurus, there was no other similar news. Now it seemed that he was too optimistic. In fact, many changes had already happened, but they were hidden under a calm appearance, confusing his eyes. Now it seemed that the one attached to Mrs. Du's body was a Yin general. The other party called himself this seat, so it seemed that he had not completely lost his life. All of this was because of him. If he had not barged into the Buzhou mountain, the 100 Transformations Star Lord would not have broken through the restrictions and released so many living beings. Mrs. Du would naturally not have become like this. As a result, he was duty-bound. It seems like the situation with Mrs. Du and second brother is not an exception. I need to find other people in similar situations. Some people are in danger, and some people might have obtained some benefits and gone into hiding. If not for Du Qifeng finding him by chance, the Mrs. Du would definitely have been reborn and become a cultivator in hiding. Of course, there were also some people who would obtain some magic treasures. If they were able to survive, they would naturally become cultivators. Currently, they had not heard of this situation. It seemed that they were all very smart. Before they completely understood the current situation of the society, they did not dare to act rashly. Perhaps they had already made a move, but Tang Zheng had not discovered it yet. Maybe one of the people who usually brushed past him was a spy. When he thought of this, his heart felt as if it was pressed down by a 10,000-kilogram boulder, incomparably heavy. This was really looking for a needle in a haystack. There was no definite target at all. It was even more difficult than dealing with a High Lord. Seeing his expression become extremely ugly, Du Qifeng finally could not hold it in and asked anxiously, "Young Master Tang, how is the situation?" "Don't worry, I can cure her." Tang Zheng regained his senses and stared at Mrs. Du. "Since you came from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, then I will take you in and get rid of evil for the people." "How dare you!" Mrs. Du cried out sharply. "Humph, not to mention that you are an insignificant Yin general, even if you are a powerful character, I am not afraid in the slightest. You cannot threaten me in front of me," Tang Zheng said coldly. Just as he was about to cast a spell to destroy the other party's soul, he suddenly had a thought and changed his mind. "This matter started because of me. There are so many living beings, if I were to destroy their souls one by one, wouldn't that be a great sin? The Ksitigarbha Sutra emphasizes compassion, so I should also have a compassionate heart. Why don't I learn from Dizang of Goguryeo and convert them, which can be considered a merit?" Without a doubt, in order to suppress the Asura, he recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day. The effect on himself could not be underestimated, and his state of mind had undergone quite a bit of change. He had experienced too many massacres, and there was a lot of evil in his heart. After reciting the Ksitigarbha Sutra every day, the evil in his heart gradually decreased, and his state of mind became much calmer. Of course, this was an imperceptible change that even he himself did not notice. Mrs. Du seemed to be a little afraid, and understood that she was not his match. Seeing that he was about to make a move, she hurriedly begged for mercy, "Please let me go, I will never do this again." Chapter 1034. In the past, when Tang Zheng recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra, there was no strange phenomenon, nor would there be golden Sanskrit words flying out of his mouth. However, when Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva recited, there was this scene. But this time, something like this happened, which surprised him. He immediately understood that his recitation day after day finally worked. His understanding of the Ksitigarbha Sutra had reached a new level, so he could reach this level. The Ksitigarbha Sutra has such power. It's incredible. Dizang of Goguryeo is really a genius. Qi Yu's voice suddenly sounded above Tang Zheng's head. The inner demon's voice followed. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is specially used to deal with souls. Do you think Suddenly, he realized something and stopped talking. Qiyu also seemed to think of something and stopped talking at the same time. Tang Zheng naturally heard the conversation between the two. His heart moved and he hurriedly calmed down. He quietly felt this mysterious feeling. Seeing the Sanskrit words fly into Madame Du's body, she immediately calmed down. The madness in her eyes and the ruthlessness on her face gradually faded. The King of Medicine and Du Qifeng looked at this scene in horror. For them, this was the work of immortals. After listening to Tang Zheng's recitation, even they themselves became calm. Du Qifeng, who was originally anxious, also calmed down a lot. What's going on? Du Qifeng turned to the King of Medicine and asked. The King of Medicine shook his head. The golden Sanskrit flew straight into Mrs. Du's brain, covering the black gas like a golden coat. The ferocious face in the black gas was suddenly startled, and the grimacing look was gone. It became very peaceful. Tang Zheng was delighted. The Ksitigarbha Sutra was really extraordinary. It could purify the ghosts in the 9 serenities hell. The Yin general's soul could also be purified, and it was more useful than other magic. It was the only magic to deal with them. A golden light shone on Mrs. Du's forehead. Then, the golden light gradually left her forehead and flew out. Mrs. Du felt weak all over and fell on the bed. They could vaguely see a mass of black gas within the golden light. The three of them stared at it without blinking. They saw the golden light flash and shrink rapidly. Finally, it turned into a fingernail-sized golden bead and fell to the ground. Tang Zheng hurriedly caught it and looked at it. This golden bead was very round. The outer layer was gold, and the inner layer was black. What is this? Tang Zheng was shocked and did not understand the situation. Du Qifeng ran to the bedside to check on his wife. The King of Medicine hurried over and asked, Master, what is this? Tang Zheng pondered for a while and said, Madame Du had a strand of soul in her body. I converted her and then she became like this. As for what this is, I don't know. Oh, what does this do? I don't know for the time being. Put it away first. Tang Zheng said that he could only ask the Dizang of Goguryeo for advice when he met him in the future. Madam, you are awake. That's great. Du Qifeng hugged his wife and was overjoyed. He cheered like a naughty child. Master, is Madame Du well? The King of Medicine asked curiously. Tang Zheng nodded, she is not sick. It is because a Yin spirit entered her body. If it is delayed for a while, there will be no way to save her. The Yin general did not really succeed in the possession. But if she was given a few more days, it would be hard to say. Young Master Tang, thank you so much. I, Du Qifeng, will never forget your great kindness. If you have any orders, I will do it. Du Qifeng said solemnly. Tang Zheng shook his head. He did not save Madame Du to ask for repayment. Moreover, this matter was caused by him. Of course, he did not point it out. He just said lightly, Madame Du's soul is hurt. She needs to rest and calm her soul so that she can recover as soon as possible. King of Medicine, just prescribe some recovery medicine for her. Yes, Master. I will write the prescription now. The King of Medicine wrote the prescription quickly and handed it to Du Qifeng. Du Qifeng kept nodding to express his gratitude. Mr. Du, we will not disturb you. We will go back to our room first. Okay, please go ahead. I am sorry for neglecting you. Du Qifeng was immersed in strong joy. He held his wife's hand and was reluctant to let go. Master, I have something to report to you. They left and the King of Medicine said. Tang Zheng nodded and signaled the King of Medicine to go to his room. After they sat down, the King of Medicine said with emotion, this is really an eye-opener. Master's method is like the magic. I am far behind you. I don't know when I can have this kind of supernatural power. Tang Zheng thought that since he called him master, he could not say nothing. He asked, King of Medicine, do you want to learn the art of cultivation? The Medicine King was stunned. He never thought that happiness would fall from the sky so quickly. After a while, he regained his senses and hurriedly nodded, yes, this way I can have master celestial methods. Yes. In fact, this is not a magic power. As long as you practice hard, you will reach this level sooner or later. Master, don't worry. I will practice hard. When I was learning medicine, I was not very talented. But in the end, I stood out because of my persistence and persistence. Although I am old, this state of mind has never changed. The King of Medicine said solemnly. Tang Zheng nodded his head in gratification, but what you are learning is the art of healing the world. The only thing I have right now is the God-killing scroll. Its killing intent is too heavy and the wondrous intent technique was created specifically for women. So, wait a few days and I will teach you a suitable cultivation technique. There were many cultivation methods in the Lengyu Pavilion. He could only go there to find them. The King of Medicine quickly waved his hand and said, Master, don't worry. I am not a young boy. I am not that impatient. Actually, I am here to report the results of my recent research. Oh, there are results. Of course, through the research of the life-continuing pill and other pill recipes, our pharmaceutical factory has developed a new medicine. This new medicine can slow down a person's aging and prolong a person's life. Moreover, it can prevent many serious diseases. The Medicine King excitedly said. To any medical practitioner, developing such a powerful new medicine was undoubtedly a great merit. In the past, the King of Medicine did not dare to imagine that a medicine could have such a powerful effect. But after seeing the life-continuing pill, he found that everything was possible. Miracles really did exist. Tang Zheng did not think that the King of Medicine was exaggerating. He said encouragingly, the world will remember your kindness. The King of Medicine rubbed his hands and said somewhat embarrassedly, this is all thanks to Master. If not for the life-continuing pill and other prescriptions, I would not have been able to develop this medicine. Don't be modest. This is all the result of your hard work. Now that the medicine has been sent to the relevant departments for testing, the results of our clinical trials are very good. After taking our medicine, every patient's condition has been improved and controlled. This new medicine will change the structure of the medicine market. It will really become a miracle medicine. The King of Medicine said excitedly. I will leave this matter to you. This is a good thing that will benefit the people. You must do it well and not make any mistakes. Master, rest assured. This old life of mine will fight to the death with this matter. It will definitely benefit more people. The King of Medicine patted his chest and said in high spirits. The final price of the medicine should not be too high. Do not be like the other black-hearted manufacturers. Tang Zheng warned. The King of Medicine looked at Tang Zheng with sincere admiration and said, Master is merciful. The people will remember your kindness. The King of Medicine reported some key points in the research and development and then returned to his room. Tang Zheng was not sleepy. Instead, he remembered the conversation between Qi Yu and the inner demons. He said with a smile that was not a smile, Hey, the two of you, stop pretending to be mute. We haven't finished what we were talking about. Let's continue. What did we say? We didn't say anything. Qi Yu flatly denied. The inner demons also hurriedly echoed, Yes, we didn't say anything. You must be hallucinating. Tang Zheng said jokingly, Oh, this is so rare. You guys are finally on the same page. Qi Yu and the inner demons were a little resentful, but they maintained a tacit understanding. Tang Zheng was not so easily fooled. He said bluntly, If it weren't for your reminder, I would have almost forgotten. In the end, the two of you are also souls. The Ksitigarbha Sutra is a spell that specializes in dealing with souls. Naturally, it will be effective on the two of you. How is that possible? How can we be the same as ordinary souls? The two of them hurriedly denied, Don't let your imagination run wild. It's better to cultivate properly. This is the right path. That's right, the danger you are facing now is even greater. Not only is there the Azure Dragon Palace, there are also the things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb. These are the most important things. Tang Zheng remained unmoved. I will take care of all of these things one by one, but the two of you have always been living in my body. This is not a solution. I don't want to bury a time bomb in my body. Ah, what are you doing? The two of them were shocked. In the past, they thought that they were strong enough that even Tang Zheng was not strong enough, so they did not have to worry too much about his methods. Now, it seemed that ever since he cultivated the Ksitigarbha Sutra, this situation had been quietly changing. It was just that they had never realized it before. This time, they had coincidentally realized this point and understood how terrible the situation they were facing was. They had become fish on the chopping block. They were filled with regret as they had really touched a sore spot. Why did they have to be so talkative? If not for them reminding him, Tang Zheng probably would not have thought of this point. Now that he had lifted a rock and smashed his own foot, what should he do? The two of them were at their wits' end. Tang Zheng laughed coldly. Now that I no longer need to be threatened by you, I believe that you can also become like that golden pearl, don't you think so? No, please don't do this. The two of them anxiously shouted. They were truly panicking. Chapter 1035. After hearing Tang Zheng's words, Qiyu realized that a great disaster was about to befall them. He panicked and said, Tang Zheng, don't treat us like this. We are of great use to you. Great use? I don't see it. On the contrary, we are a great potential threat. Tang Zheng did not think so. We really are of great use. Didn't you want to find a suitable cultivation method for the King of Medicine? I have it. Qiyu said impatiently. Tang Zheng was interested and asked, what cultivation method? Can you promise not to use the Ksitigarbha Sutra against us? Qiyu asked nervously. Tang Zheng laughed, ha, do you think there is still room for negotiation? The inner demons hurriedly urged, Qiyu, this is a matter of life and death. What are you waiting for? I know what you are talking about. Hurry up and tell this young man about Shenong Jing. Shenong Jing? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Qiyu sighed and said helplessly, yes, Shenong Jing. This is a scripture written by Shenong in ancient times. Shenong is the ancestor of the apricot woods. Shenong Jing entered the Tao through medicine. It is a supreme cultivation method. It is just right for the King of Medicine. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. It seemed that he did not need to go to the Langya Pavilion to search. Hurry up and tell me. All right. Just as Qiyu's voice fell, a ray of light flashed through Tang Zheng's mind, and then a ray of green light slowly unfolded, turning into an ancient book that he roughly browsed through. After reading it once, not only did it talk about cultivation methods, but it also recorded medical skills to treat illnesses and save people. Especially the introduction of medicinal herbs, it was refreshing. There were many things that he had never heard of before. Shenong tasted hundreds of herbs and cured countless people. Just now, he wrote this Shenong Jing. It is the most precious treasure of the apricot woods. Of course, this is a healing spell. There are very few offensive spells, Qiyu explained. Tang Zheng realized that he had overlooked a problem. The King of Medicine was a warrior, so he couldn't practice magic. That's not a big deal, the inner demons quickly said, as if they didn't want Qiyu to take all the credit. Oh, is there any solution? Why don't we just cripple his martial arts and make him start learning magic from scratch? That's one way. However, most people wouldn't be willing to throw away everything they've learned and start from scratch after cultivating for most of their lives, Tang Zheng said worriedly. If you gain something, you lose something. Besides, Shenong Jing was made just for him. It is many times better than his half-baked martial arts. If he doesn't know how to calculate this, then he is a complete idiot. The inner demons said. Tang Zheng thought for a while, and agreed with the inner demons. However, this kind of situation did not apply to everyone. This was because it was not so easy for ordinary people to find a cultivation technique that was so suitable for them. Tang Zheng, don't you think the two of us are very useful? In the future, you will encounter more problems and more difficulties. We can still give you advice, which is definitely more useful than making us disappear. Qi Yu said with a bashful face. Tang Zheng frowned, he was not someone who was so easily fooled. These two fellows were indeed a treasure trove, but they were also very dangerous. He would not let them go just because of a set of Shenong Jing, so he said, "You want to bribe me with a set of Shenong Jing? You're underestimating me too much." "Ah, what are you doing? Are you going to stubbornly deal with us? What do you think?" "No way." The inner demons hurriedly stopped him. "Young man, didn't you want to deal with those things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb? We can help you." "Yes, we can help you. This is a huge project. You can't do it alone. We can lend you a hand." Qi Yu hurriedly chimed in as if he was grasping at a life-saving straw. Tang Zheng's head moved. This was a good idea. In fact, ever since he found out that the Ksitigarbha Sutra could balance Qi Yu and the Heart Demon, he was not so worried about these two people. Because, with the Ksitigarbha Sutra, they would not be able to make any big waves, and they were a huge treasure trove. He could get many useful things from them. Hastily making them disappear from this world would not do him much good. However, in order to make them obediently submit, he had to scare them as much as possible. As expected, not only did they blow up Shenong Jing this time, they even had a way to find the things that escaped. This was something worth celebrating. "Tell me in detail," Tang Zheng said with a cold face. "Yes." The inner demon smiled bitterly. He had been wise for his entire life, and no one could kill him. He never thought that he would be controlled by a young man in the end. Those things that escaped are divided into two types. Some of them are Yin Soul Generals, and some of them are magic treasures. These magic treasures are of different levels, and our focus should be on the Yin Soul Generals, because they have their own consciousness, and are more dangerous than magic treasures. Hearing the inner demon's analysis, Tang Zheng secretly nodded his head, thinking that it made sense, but he still retorted, "But we can't give up on the magic treasure, after all." Tu encountered the mountain-shattering meteor hammer and almost lost his life. "Alright, we'll do our best." The inner demons was helpless. These things actually have a strong prehistoric aura. As long as we grasp this clue, it will be very easy to find them. Prehistoric aura? Tang Zheng frowned. Yes, it is extremely difficult for others to discover this aura, but Qi Yu and I can discover it. The inner demons vowed. "Tell me what kind of aura it is. I'll find it myself." "No. Only we can discover this kind of aura. Although your cultivation isn't bad, you can't discover it because we are people from the ancient era. That's why we have this kind of ability." The inner demons argued. Right. Qi Yu hurriedly agreed. "We have been in the prehistoric heavenly tomb for tens of thousands of years, and have long known about this kind of aura. No one else has this kind of ability." "Really?" Tang Zheng half believed and half doubted. Qi Yu and the inner demons said at the same time. On this matter, the two of them maintained a high degree of consistency. Tang Zheng did not probe any further, but he guessed that it was most likely false, because Qi Yu and the inner demons were afraid that if they told Tang Zheng the specific method, he would destroy the bridge after crossing the river and deal with them. Since they had this kind of worry, Tang Zheng did not point it out, and treated it as giving them a reassuring pill. "Alright, I won't pursue the matter further, but you must tell me where this kind of prehistoric aura is," Tang Zheng said sternly. "Yes, we can tell you right now that there is a prehistoric aura in the capital." "Beijing?" Tang Zheng was shocked, his face darkened, and asked sternly, "Why didn't you tell me before?" "This." The two of them stammered, "We didn't think of this before and ignored it. We only thought of this after seeing Mrs. Du's situation." "Really?" Tang Zheng absolutely did not believe that the two of them must have other ideas in mind. "Yes, definitely. The two of them hurriedly promised. Tang Zheng smiled and did not pursue the matter further. Then we will set off for the capital tomorrow, and we must find the prehistoric aura that you mentioned. No problem. The next day, Tang Zheng first went to check on Mrs. Du, and made sure that there was nothing serious. Tang Zheng and Mrs. Du were very grateful to him, and said a lot of good words. Then, Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine found a secluded place. The King of Medicine was confused, and did not know why his master had gathered so many people. King of Medicine, I have found the suitable magic for you to practice. The moment he opened his mouth, the Medicine King was shocked. He was overjoyed and moved to tears of gratitude. Many thanks to Master. I will never forget this kindness. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said, this magic method is called Shenong Jing. It is, what, Shenong Jing? Before he finished, the King of Medicine had already screamed in shock. Yes, what's wrong? Tang Zheng looked at him in confusion, as if his reaction was a bit too big. Master. The King of Medicine was so excited that his lips trembled. He patted his chest and suppressed the stormy waves in his heart, and said, Master, is it really Shenong Jing? Of course, do you think I would lie to you? No, I definitely didn't mean that. It's just that rumor has it that Shenong Jing has disappeared for tens of thousands of years, and there are only a few words about it in some medical books. Many people think that it is a legend, made up, and not believed at all. The King of Medicine explained. Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened, no wonder he was so agitated, and lightly said, this is just some people's shallow view, the Shenong scripture is real. The King of Medicine nodded continuously, his old face was flushed with excitement, and even his wrinkles seemed to have smoothed out a lot. In the blink of an eye, he seemed to have become 10 years younger. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Is it necessary to be so excited? Of course. The King of Medicine nodded seriously. Master, you don't know the name of Shenong Jing in the apricot forest. Legend has it that it was written by Shenong, and it is the origin of medicine. Many of the methods of curing diseases and saving people recorded in it are called magic, and it is extremely mysterious. If Shenong Jing really does see the light of day again, it will definitely benefit millions of people in the world. The King of Medicine talked endlessly, his eyes shining. Tang Zheng nodded secretly, and gradually understood why he was so excited. The status of Shenong Jing was really too high, and if it were anyone in the apricot forest, they would probably have the same reaction as him. In that case, you should carry Shenong Jing forward, help the world by practicing medicine, and save more people. Tang Zheng urged. The King of Medicine nodded heavily, and said meticulously, Master, don't worry, I will live up to your expectations, and I will not let Shenong and Shenong Jing down. Don't be so serious. It's just that Shenong Jing is not only a medical book, but also a set of cultivation methods. You are a warrior, and you can only practice Shenong Jing if you destroy all your kung fu. Are you willing? Tang Zheng asked. Yes, of course, I am willing, 1,000, 10,000 times willing. The King of Medicine nodded eagerly. Young man, you see, we were right, he will definitely be willing. The inner demons came out to take credit. Tang Zheng ignored them, and continued to say to the King of Medicine, then let's start now. I will destroy your kung fu, and it may be a little painful, you have to bear with it. Chapter 1036. There were many ways to destroy a person's kung fu. First of all, one could directly shatter a person's dantian. From then on, it would be difficult for the dantian to gather and produce internal strength. Similarly, such a dantian could no longer produce genuine qi, so the person would really be destroyed. In addition, one could also do it like when Tang Zheng participated in the kung fu competition. He was plotted against and took a strong poison like the spirit refining pill. This would not only destroy a person's kung fu, but also destroy a person's body and meridians. This method was not advisable. Finally, there was another way, which was to use a strong kung fu to dissolve the opponent's internal strength. This could only be done if there was a great disparity between the two people's kung fu. This method would not hurt the meridians and body, and was the most gentle. Tang Zheng naturally chose this method. His kung fu was much stronger than the king of medicine, so of course he could do this. However, the process of dissolving internal strength would inevitably be accompanied by pain. I'm starting. Tang Zheng shouted in a deep voice and activated his genuine qi. The medicine king's body suddenly stiffened as he furrowed his brows. This was because he felt a powerful energy rush into his meridians. At that moment, a bone-piercing pain appeared spontaneously. Ah! He subconsciously groaned in pain, but quickly gritted his teeth to hold it back. Tang Zheng's mind was not distracted as he quickly cut the Gordian knot. True Qi rampaged through his meridians but did not injure his meridians as he tried to use the fastest speed to cripple his martial arts. It had to be said that although the king of medicine was a master in the apricot forest and his medical skills were exquisite, his kung fu cultivation was indeed mediocre. Therefore, Tang Zheng's progress was very fast. His genuine qi swept through the king of medicine's meridians and dantian at lightning speed. In the end, the genuine qi defeated all the internal strength, and even the internal strength in the dantian disappeared completely. If it was an ordinary case of dissolving one's kung fu, this would be the end, but Tang Zheng was not satisfied with this. The king of medicine was old, so it would take twice the effort for half the result to cultivate. In order to make up for this defect, he decided to take this opportunity to personally cleanse his muscles and marrow and widen his meridians so that he could cultivate faster in the future. Ah! Suddenly, the king of medicine could not help but cry out. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on his forehead. This was the side effect of the forceful cleansing of muscles and marrow. King of medicine, hold it in. I'll help you with the bone marrow cleansing. Tang Zheng hurriedly urged. The king of medicine nodded and gritted his teeth. Master, I can hold on. Just let me go. Tang Zheng secretly praised him. The pain that the king of medicine had to endure was several times more intense than that of an ordinary person. If it wasn't for his great perseverance, it would be impossible for him to endure. But Tang Zheng believed that the king of medicine could do it. As expected, although the king of medicine was sweating profusely as if he had just been fished out of the water, he gritted his teeth and did not utter a single word. The meridians were widened little by little, and the impurities were gradually discharged from the body. The surface of the king of medicine's body was covered with a layer of black dirt, and the wrinkles on his face seemed to have smoothed out a lot. Tang Zheng said in his heart that he was finally going to succeed. He pointed at the center of the medicine king's eyebrows and said, "Focus your mind and calm down. I will pass on the Shinong scripture to you. You will follow the Shinong scripture's instructions to guide your qi and enter the refining qi stage." Yes, master. The king of medicine was in pain and happiness. Suddenly, he felt a light flash in his mind, and then there was an ancient book. He was shocked and immediately understood that this was the Shinong Jing. He was so happy that he almost cheered, but he immediately restrained his mind and followed the Shinong Jing's instructions. He began to cultivate little by little. A warm feeling immediately grew from his dantian, and then flowed along his meridians to his limbs and bones. True qi, is this the true qi? He was overjoyed, and his temples were throbbing. Tang Zheng also noticed the true qi in his body. Although this true qi was weak, it naturally repelled his true qi, as if it wanted to drive out this invader. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile, and he controlled the true qi to withdraw little by little from his meridians, and then he guarded him. The king of medicine was like a statue, motionless, and immersed in the mysterious realm of cultivation. From now on, he could be considered to have stepped into the threshold of cultivation, and was able to glimpse the mystery of the great Tao. After a long time, the king of medicine finally opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of joy. He excitedly said, "Master, I've finally succeeded. I've become a cultivator. Thank you for the grace of rebirth." As he spoke, he was about to bow down to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng hurriedly held him and said with a smile, "No need to be so polite. Since you call me master, this is what I should do. Master's great kindness, I'll never forget it. I taught you Shinong Jing so that you can better practice medicine and save people. I hope you won't forget your original intention, and carry forward Shinong Jing, so that my painstaking efforts will not be in vain. Tang Jing sincerely said. Although there was a large age gap between the two, they didn't feel the slightest awkwardness towards these words. As the saying goes, the one who reaches the top first. Both of them tacitly agreed on this point. The king of medicine patted his chest, and like a hot-blooded youth, he passionately expressed his promise. Suddenly, he frowned and said, why is it so smelly? I'm washing your meridians and removing the impurities. This strange smell is the cause of the impurities being expelled from your body. The king of medicine suddenly understood, and hurriedly went back to his room to take a bath. The two chatted for a while, and Tang Jing clearly explained some things to pay attention to in cultivation, and then they parted ways. He went back to the capital, and the king of medicine went back to the pharmaceutical factory. He flew back to the capital on his sword, and as soon as he landed, he couldn't wait to ask, Chiyu, inner demons, you said that there's a primordial aura in the capital, where is it? Quickly take me there. The two immediately appeared and said, don't be noisy, let us feel it first. The smog in the capital is so bad that even the primordial aura is covered up by this smog, and has become very weak. We have to find it slowly. Tang Jing speechlessly rolled his eyes, and looked up at the sky. The sky was gloomy, as if it was covered with a layer of gray cloth. Although the tree of life had been constantly improving the spiritual energy and air in this world, after all, it had only been a short time, and the air quality was really too poor, so the effect was not immediately visible. For the time being, Tang Jing didn't have any way to deal with the smog that filled the sky, and could only pray that the tree of life's effect would appear as soon as possible. However, he had a new idea about his villa area. He couldn't care less about other people's territory. After all, he didn't have that much ability, but if his own area was filled with turbid air all day long, it would be too embarrassing. Therefore, he had to find a way to improve the air in his area, and turn it into a paradise in the capital. Your idea is not bad, and it's not difficult to realize, a spirit-gathering array can easily do it. Chiyu praised. Now, Chiyu and the inner demons took turns to praise him, they all wanted to make a good impression on him. Of course, don't you see who came up with this idea? Tang Jing said proudly, let's find the primordial aura first, then go back and set up a spirit-gathering array. I got it. The inner demons suddenly shouted, I can feel the primordial aura. Inner demons, don't shout, you're not the only one who can feel it, I can feel it too. Chiyu snorted. Stop arguing, let's go. Following the inner demons and Chiyu's directions, Tang Jing walked through the streets and came to the entrance of a house. It's here, the primordial aura is coming from inside. The two said with certainty. Tang Jing looked up, a familiar door and a familiar plaque came into view. Yi Mansion. Why are we here? This was the Ye family's mansion in the capital. Tang Jing used to be a frequent guest, but after Yi Tianlei and Yi Xuanji broke off, he never came here again. The Yi mansion was still as tall as before, and the courtyard was deep. There was no difference compared to before, unlike the Song and Chu families that were completely ruined. When the guards at the door saw Tang Jing, their expressions became strange. After all, who didn't know the former son-in-law of the Ye family? Seeing him standing at the door, they couldn't guess what he was thinking, so they didn't dare to act rashly. Are you sure it's here? Tang Jing looked at the house with a strange expression, and asked the two. Chiyu and the inner demon seemed to have been greatly insulted, and said sullenly, you can doubt other things, but how can you doubt our professionalism? The primordial aura is coming from inside. Tang Jing nodded with a sullen face. Could it be that someone in the Ye family had been taken over? This was something new and unheard of. Then let's go in and take a look. Tang Jing could even come and go freely in the inner palace, so how could he be blocked by these high walls? When he walked to the door, the guards quickly came up and stopped him with a complicated expression, and nervously said, Young Master Tang, please stop. Tang Jing didn't plan to make things difficult for them, and calmly said, I won't make things difficult for you, just open the door. The guards had a difficult expression, and said, "Young Master Tang, we have a duty, forgive us for not being able to comply." Seeing Tang Zheng's expression suddenly change, as if he was about to flip out, a smart guard quickly said, "Young Master Tang, please wait a moment, we will go and report." Tang Zheng hesitated. Since the primordial aura was in the Yi mansion, it naturally couldn't escape, so he nodded his head. Not long after, the guards hurriedly ran back and respectfully bowed to Tang Zheng, and said, "Young Master Tang, please, the patriarch is waiting for you in the main hall." Tang Zheng walked in with large strides, and found that there wasn't much change in the Yi mansion. He secretly asked the two guards about the primordial aura's whereabouts, and the two acted as guides, guiding him forward. Young Master Tang, it's not that way, it's this way." Seeing Tang Zheng turn the corner, the guards were shocked, and quickly shouted, "The patriarch is waiting in the main hall, it's this way." "I'll go over here first." Tang Zheng didn't want to delay any longer, and with a leap, he turned into a blur, and rushed towards the direction of the primordial aura. Young Master Tang, you can't." The guards turned pale with fright, and screamed. Suddenly, a figure descended from the sky, and blocked in front of Tang Zheng. Looking closely, it was actually Yi Xuanji, who looked a bit older than before, and his snow-white beard fluttered in the wind. Chapter 1037. Yi Xuanji's aura was incomparably sharp, even more so than before. Tang Zheng's eyes narrowed into two slits as he looked at him calmly. "Tang Zheng, this is the Ye family, not just anyone can barge in," Yi Xuanji said in an unfriendly tone. Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, "Is that so? Could it be that there's some unspeakable secret?" Yi Xuanji's temples throbbed as he asked, "What do you mean by that?" Tang Zheng also stared straight at Yi Xuanji, as if he wanted to find some clues from his reaction, but Yi Xuanji was after all an old fox, so how could he be seen through so easily? There were no flaws at all. "Just now, the guard came to report that you're here. Since you're a guest, I naturally wouldn't neglect you. But if you're here to cause trouble, even though my Ye family is weak, we're not that easy to bully," Yi Xuanji said firmly. Tang Zheng turned around and asked Qi Yu and the inner demons if the Great Desolate Aura was nearby. After getting an affirmative answer, Tang Zheng made up his mind. Even though it wasn't good to barge in, this matter was still very important and he couldn't be careless. Moreover, the Ye family was his opponent. If he was too polite, it would seem hypocritical. His eyes flashed as he walked straight towards the direction of the Great Desolate Aura. 9 unspecified currency. Yi Xuanji slid and blocked his way. Their eyes met and sparks were already flying. "If that's the case, then I won't be polite." After Tang Zheng finished speaking, he pushed his palms towards Yi Xuanji's chest. Yi Xuanji roared and quickly blocked with his palms. Bang! 4 palms collided and Yi Xuanji was pushed back a few steps. But Tang Zheng didn't move at all, as if he was Mount Tai. Yi Xuanji's expression changed as he exclaimed, "How did your cultivation become so high?" Even though he had expected Tang Zheng's cultivation to be unfathomable, he had never thought that his cultivation would be so high. It was not just a little bit higher than the last time they fought. Moreover, his intuition told him that Tang Zheng didn't use his full strength, otherwise he would have suffered even more. How did Tang Zheng do it? In just a few months' time. Could it be that cultivators are so much stronger than warriors? In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, many thoughts flashed through his mind, and his emotions fluctuated unsteadily. "You're not my match, you can't stop me," Tang Zheng said lightly. He has the right to say this, not because he's arrogant. Ye's expression as the Ye family. How can I watch you barge into the Ye family without doing anything? How can my Ye family stand in front of the world? How can I let the Ye family? How can I the Ye family? How can I watch you the Ye family? If you, how can I? My family is right. How can I right? How can I the can I? How can I? Whoosh. After he finished speaking, a sword flashed and a sword appeared in his hand. The cold sword flashed towards Tang Zheng's throat. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the approaching sword and thought, why do I feel like I've seen this before? Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he realized, wind-chasing sword art. No, this is definitely not the real wind-chasing sword art. It's a fake. His guess was not wrong. Ever since Yi Xuanji had seen Yi Dingdang's mysterious wind-chasing sword technique, he had been unable to get it out of his mind. Later on, he went into seclusion for a long time and devoted himself to studying it. Finally, he created this wind-chasing sword technique, but compared to the real wind-chasing sword technique, it was worlds apart. Tang Zheng smirked and said, trying to imitate but making a fool out of yourself. A fake like you dares to act arrogantly in front of me? I'll let you see what the real wind-chasing sword art is. Tang Zheng casually plucked a branch from the side. With a flick of his wrist, the leaves fell and turned into a bare branch. Yi Xuanji's face slightly changed, but his sword attack did not weaken. Instead, it became sharper and filled with killing intent. To deal with you, this is enough. Tang Zheng calmly said. To Yi Xuanji, this was no different from a huge insult. His face turned green as he angrily said, you're courting death. Whoosh! The long sword arrived in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng lightly waved the branch and pointed it out. The strength and speed were just right. When it touched the long sword, the branch bent into a full moon shape but did not break. Instead, the long sword received a huge rebound force. Wang! The long sword violently trembled. Yi Xuanji could not control it and his hand involuntarily loosened. The long sword flew out of his hand and fiercely pierced into the roof, leaving the sword hilt trembling incessantly. Looking at this scene, Yi Xuanji was stunned. He had lost completely. He thought that he had comprehended the essence of the wind-chasing sword art, but he did not expect that he could not even withstand one of Tang Zheng's moves. Just now, Tang Zheng's move was fast and accurate. It seemed to be light, but in reality, it had the power of 10,000 kilograms. It was the essence of the wind-chasing sword art. His face revealed an unprecedented look of despair. Tang Zheng did not continue to tangle with him, nor did he take advantage of the situation to attack him. After all, he was Yi Dingdang's grandfather and Yi Tianlei's father. If he really did something to him, then there would be a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. He turned into a gust of wind and swept past Yi Xuanji. This time, he was too late to block. Why did the primitive aura disappear? Suddenly, Qi Yu and the inner demons exclaimed. Tang Zheng was shocked. He had no choice but to stop and ask, how did it disappear? Didn't you say it was very obvious? It was very obvious just now, but now it has disappeared. The two were helpless and also seemed to be very puzzled. Tang Zheng frowned and looked at the many rooms in front of him. The Ye family was a big house. It occupied a large area and there were many rooms. Without a clear target, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Could it be that the person heard the fighting, so he noticed the situation and deliberately hid? The inner demons mumbled. Qi Yu was surprised. He pondered for a while and analyzed logically, if that's the case, then this soul has probably succeeded in taking over the body. It might even have recovered a lot of its power. Moreover, it must have been a powerful master when it was alive, so it could hide the primitive aura. Hearing this, Tang Zheng was also shocked. If it had succeeded in taking over the body, then whose body did it take over in the Ye family? Didn't you say that you could easily detect the primitive aura? Why can the other party disappear under your nose now? Tang Zheng asked angrily. Qi Yu hurriedly explained, Tang Zheng, don't slander us, we are just a strand of soul, and our strength is greatly reduced. If we were to occupy a body, then no matter how well the other party hides, they will not be able to escape our fiery golden eyes. The inner demons also agreed, that makes sense. Why don't you find a body for us and let us be reborn? Then these are all small problems. We will solve them for you in minutes. Tang Zheng sneered mockingly, your plan is too good. Do you think you can fool me like this? Stop dreaming. If I let you take over my body and be reborn, wouldn't I be digging my own grave? How can that be? We have been together for so long. We have feelings for each other. We are close friends. The inner demons and Chiyu retorted. Stop dreaming. Quickly find a way to find the other party. Tang Zheng urged. The two of them fell silent at the same time. After a while, they said faintly, I'm afraid there is no way. No way. Tang Zheng stared with his eyes wide open. You were so confident before. Now you are breaking the chain. We don't want to either. The two of them mumbled, feeling wronged. I don't care. Anyway, if there is no way, now that we are here, I will not give up halfway. Tang Zheng purposely forced the two of them. Let's capture Yi Xuanji and interrogate him. Maybe we will get something. The inner demon suggested. Tang Zheng sneered, what kind of rotten idea is that? Do you think Yi Xuanji is a coward? You think he will listen to you just by scaring him? Don't we still have the soul-searching method? Chiyu said. Tang Zheng's head moved, but he immediately rejected this method. Just like killing Yi Xuanji, this would also cause a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. This was a last resort. He would not do this unless he had no other choice. So. Suddenly, several figures flew over from a distance and surrounded Tang Zheng. They were Yi Xuanji, Yi Tianming, and Yi Ku. Tang Zheng, you are too arrogant. Do you really think that the Ye family is a place where you can come and go as you please? Yi Tianming roared. Yi Ku indignantly scolded, don't think that you can be arrogant by relying on your own weight. You can ride on top of our Ye family's head. This time, if you don't give us an explanation, don't even think about leaving. Tang Zheng's eyes wandered over the three of them. His eyes were burning like a scanner, as if he wanted to see through the three of them. Then who would the Yin general choose to be his puppet? The strong. The other party will definitely choose the strong, so that he can exert his strength to a greater extent. Chiyu quickly said. Tang Zheng's head moved and asked, the strong people of the Ye family are in front of him. Do you think he will choose one of the three? This possibility is not ruled out. The inner demons agreed. Just now, I fought with Yi Xuanji, and at that time, the great desolate aura still existed. That is to say, Yi Xuanji can be excluded. Then, he can only choose between Yi Tianming and Yi Ku. Tang Zheng analyzed. His eyes swept back and forth between Yi Tianming and Yi Ku. Why are you looking at us like this? Yi Ku asked in a bad mood. Tang Zheng did not answer. Instead, he made a move. Yi Ku was still a few meters away. She saw Tang Zheng's big hand reach out and use the swallowing sky technique. A powerful suction force spread out from his palm. Yi Ku exclaimed and involuntarily flew towards Tang Zheng. Bang bang. His feet fiercely stomped on the ground, trying to stop his body. However, all this was in vain. He finally fell into Tang Zheng's palm. Tang Zheng, what are you doing? Yi Tianming roared. His son was captured. His mood could be imagined. With a roar, the long sword in his hand trembled. Swish swish swish, the sword bloomed in the sky. The man and the sword came together and stabbed towards Tang Zheng's heart. Chapter 1038. The branch in Tang Zheng's hand had not been thrown away. He shook the branch and faced the two people. Since they wanted to fight, then he would accompany them to the end. It was a good opportunity to test the two people's cultivation. With two swishing sounds, the branch was like a sharp sword, pointing at the two people's vital points. Since he wanted to test whether it was true or false, he naturally would not be merciful. He had to force the two people into a desperate situation. The branch accurately pierced the two people's bodies. However, the two people did not fall, nor did blood burst out. The two people's faces showed a sinister and strange smile, which made people's hair stand on end. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. he was very clear on the power of his attack. With the cultivation of these two people, it was impossible for them to block it. Even if they were strong, it was impossible for them to do so. Could it be that these two people had already been taken over and reborn? Ha, Tang Zheng, your methods are useless. You should obediently accept your death. You have committed all kinds of crimes against our Ye family in the past. Today, you will pay for them all. Ye Ku shouted ferociously. Tang Zheng frowned. Ye Ku was very different from what he usually saw. There was always a strange feeling that he could not explain. He immediately looked at Yi Tianming. The smile on the other side's mouth seemed to be particularly strange. Young man, Ku, don't you feel that something is wrong? The inner demons suddenly asked. What's wrong? Tang Zheng was confused. Chi Yu said, you are really too stupid. You usually boast that you are smart. Why are you so stupid today? Can't you see such a simple flaw? Tang Zheng was more confused. Where was the flaw? Why did he not see it after looking for a long time? What flaw? Yi Tianming is already dead. How could he appear here? Chi Yu asked. The inner demons echoed, yes, isn't this a flaw? A big flaw. Yi Tianming is dead? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Why did he not remember this? Really? Are you suffering from amnesia? Chi Yu said snappily. You're the one with amnesia. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and retorted. That's weird. There must be a problem. It's just that we haven't figured it out yet. Could it be that Yi Tianming was the one who was possessed and reborn? The inner demons were amazed. If only it was that simple. I think things are even more complicated. Chi Yu said disapprovingly. After listening to the conversation between the two, Tang Zheng felt like his brain was turning into mush. He was getting more and more confused. It was as if something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Before the three of them could come up with a solution, Yi Xuanji and the other two launched a fierce attack. In an instant, 3 swords were launched at the same time, attacking Tang Zheng together. Tang Zheng threw away the branch and changed to the War Soul sword. He quickly slashed his sword. The air shook and the sword light directly penetrated Yi Xuanji's body. Yi Xuanji was safe and sound. Instead, he revealed a proud smile. His long sword flew out of his hand and slashed at Tang Zheng. Clang! The War Soul sword forced the sword back. However, the long sword didn't fly away. Instead, it made a circle in the air and turned back. Imperial Sword Technique. Tang Zheng was too familiar with this scene and couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist. How could he know the Imperial Sword Technique? This didn't make sense at all. Whoosh! The long sword flew out again. This time, it was faster and more accurate. It was completely an attack of the wind-chasing sword technique. It wasn't the unorthodox attack that Yi Xuanji used before. Instead, it was the essence of the wind-chasing sword technique. With the combination of the Imperial Sword Technique, the power of this attack increased sharply. Even Tang Zheng felt a huge pressure. Tang Zheng quickly raised his sword to block. He felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. His arm went numb and the War Soul sword almost flew out of his hand. No, no! The inner demons and Chi Yu shouted at the same time. This isn't real. We finally know why the great desolate aura disappeared. It's because we've already fallen into a trap. Fallen into a trap. Tang Zheng's expression was strange. He didn't know what to do. Yes, all of this is fake. There's no difference between a fake and a real one. It actually deceived all of our eyes. The inner demons let out a long sigh. I finally know who the great desolate aura is. Only he can do this and deceive all of us. Chi Yu said indignantly, Heng, I also know who you're talking about. I didn't think that this person wouldn't stop even after he died. He came out to stir up trouble and even hit my head. Seeing the two speak with righteous indignation, Tang Zheng quickly asked, "Who are you talking about?" "Nightmare." "Who is he?" "This person was one of the generals under the Yellow Emperor. Many of my 9 Li tribe's warriors died in his hands." Qi Yu said hatefully. "What kind of ability does he have to be so powerful?" "Nightmare's ability is something that no one else has. In this world, he is the only one who knows his magic. He also doesn't have a successor because his talent is too special. No one can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He created a set of spells for himself, called Traceless Dream of Heart." "What's so powerful about this magic?" Qi Yu gave a heavy snort, as if he didn't want to talk about it. The inner demons said, "Do you usually dream?" "Of course I dream. Everyone dreams. The nightmare's power lies in its ability to create a dreamscape. Then without leaving a trace, it can silently lure people into a dream. In a dreamscape, anything is possible. It's like a heavenly steed soaring across the sky. It doesn't stick to a certain pattern. Moreover, the person who enters the dreamscape won't know that they're dreaming because it's too real. The two of us are inside your body and haven't been attacked by the nightmare. That's why we can see through everything. When you dream, do you dream of someone who has already passed away? Then you don't think that they're dead, and you even talk to them like a normal person?" the inner demons asked. Tang Zheng nodded. This kind of situation was too common. Most people would have encountered it at least once. "So, right now we're in a dreamscape created by the nightmare. That's why we're like this. The dead come back to life, the enemy becomes stronger. These kinds of things that surpass common sense can only happen in a dreamscape. But the nightmare's power lies in the fact that even though it's a dreamscape, once you're killed by the enemy, you'll really die in the dreamscape. Those who are lured into the dreamscape by the nightmare's traceless dream will be trapped in the dreamscape if they can't break out of the dreamscape. The nightmare will always think of ways, and even deliberately create nightmares to make people die in their dreams." These words enlightened Tang Zheng. His heart was as clear as a mirror, and his eyes lit up. Everything in front of him seemed to distort. The air violently fluctuated, and the trees and houses around him became faintly discernible. The smiles of the 3 people in front of him became increasingly strange, causing his heart to feel cold. "This is all fake. I'm dreaming." Tang Zheng shouted himself hoarse. Boom! With a loud noise, the whole world seemed to collapse. The faces of the 3 people in front of him became blurred. He only heard a shrill cry, "How did you see through it?" The scene in front of him suddenly changed. The 3 people disappeared, and everything around him became clear again. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 sounds came from afar. In the blink of an eye, 2 people came in front of him. Looking closely, it was Yi Xuanji and Yi Ku. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank. He said in his heart that this was not a dream. Of course it's not a dream, this is reality. Although the nightmare's spell is powerful, once it's a dreamscape, it can quietly withdraw. However, once trapped, it's really difficult to recognize that you're in a dreamscape, so you can't withdraw at all. Unless you have a really great magical ability, otherwise, in the face of the nightmare's spell, you're really powerless. The nightmare once said that when he cultivates the heart's dream traceless spell to the extreme, even if it's a magnificent army, he can quietly lure them into a dream and eliminate them all in the dream. The inner demons introduced. Tang Zheng's head moved, and said, "Then during the Battle of Zhuolu, did the nightmare also use the heart's dream traceless spell?" Qi Yu snorted coldly, and said, "Of course, how could he give up on such a powerful spell? It's just that he thinks highly of himself, but in the end, he can't escape death. My people are not to be trifled with, although they paid a huge price, they still killed this scourge. It's just that I didn't expect that after tens of thousands of years, nightmare would appear again." Tang Zheng patted his forehead, feeling bitter in his heart. In the ancient times, the experts gathered together, and all kinds of spells blossomed, making it hard to imagine. With so many souls escaping from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Since there is a first time, then I will be extremely careful. I will not fall into the nightmare demon's trap again. You all said that these souls would choose the strong, then other than Yi Xuanji, there is only Yi Ke left in the Yi mansion. Could it be that the nightmare demon chose him? Tang Zheng muttered to himself, staring at Yi Ke like a torch. The Ye family looked at Tang Zheng. Just now, they saw that Tang Zheng was as motionless as a statue from afar. The two of them were shocked, but they did not sit back and watch. Instead, they directly chose to charge over, preparing to give him a fatal blow. However, just as they rushed in front of him, they discovered that Tang Zheng had freed himself from the meditative state of the old monk. As a result, the two of them immediately stopped in their tracks, and did not dare to act rashly. They looked at him suspiciously, not knowing what kind of medicine he was selling in his gourd. Tang Zheng, do you really think that my Ye family has no one left? Today, even if I, Yi Xuanji, risk my life, I will not let you succeed. Yi Xuanji said while gnashing his teeth. Just now, he was completely shocked by Tang Zheng's strength. When Tang Zheng left, he was both scared and ashamed. He was the dignified patriarch of a generation. If he was scared like this, then he would not be able to show his face in the Yi clan in the future. He would be pointed at behind his back and scolded to death. As the head of the family, of course he could not ignore it. Therefore, even though he knew that he was no match for it, he still had to chase after it. Only this time, there was Yi Ke.